NASCAR heads to the paperclip at Martinsville Speedway this weekend as the stars of the Cup Series look to conquer the Virginia short track. Denny Hamlin, who has 5 wins at Martinsville, will look to go back-to-back after scoring his first win of the season at Richmond last weekend. Hamlin has an average finish of 10.2 in 32 starts. The racing got underway last night as Cup regular William Byron won the Camping World Truck Series race. The Xfinity stars will hit the track tonight, which will feature the return of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who will roll off 30th. And the Cup Series caps off the weekend Saturday night under the lights at 5:30. And this report presented by Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway with the Legends Spring Nationals and Pro Late Model 100, April 15th and 16th.
For more, catch Chasing Checkers Sunday mornings at 8
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
a Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We're live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. It's a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian Safari is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So I want to get right to the truth. Now, there is one thing that I do want to note to everybody. I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch Tiger while I'm on the air, but I want to watch Tiger. Is it okay if I get distracted, if I find a way to somehow, some way watch Tiger Woods? Because we will be following Tiger Woods today. We'll not care.
It.
I do not care about any other golfer in the Masters. Let me just tell you that. I am not a golf fan. I'm a Tiger fan. I'm not a golf fan. I care very much about Tiger. I just want Tiger to make the cut. Everything else to that is gravy. Gosh, if he were to win, oh my God. But I just want to, just want everybody to know that I'm rooting for Tiger. And that's all I will say there.
Go team, go.
I do want to start to this. I am a believer in the truth. I am a believer in there being the full truth and nothing but the truth. And I am also open to admitting sometimes when I am wrong. Some people can't do it. And so yesterday, the news broke that a 2020 podcast from Mike Mularkey basically accused the Titans of running 3 sham head coaching interviews, which I already kind of thought was the case anyways. Like, that's what I had believed to be true regardless. But, we talked about it on air. What's it mean? What do we remember from then? And I feel like I pretty much remember everything from then. And then the Titans put out a statement yesterday in which they basically said no decisions were made. They ran 4 interviews with 4 candidates, and that the 4 people, and that they cared. And I just sledgehammered the Titans yesterday because I thought that statement wasn't true. Joe Rexrode wrote a column, and he sledgehammered the Titans for other reasons, but also for that statement because he thinks it wasn't true. Now, Joe didn't cover the Titans then. But I wanted to go back, and I wanted to go to places and see what people said at the time and remember it. Because when I hear people think, well, what about Steve Wilkes and the 1 year he got in Arizona and they weren't very good and the general manager got a DUI and they had Josh Rosen and they fired him after 1 year. That's not fair. They hired Cliff Kingsbury. They've given him an extended rope. Sounds on the surface to be completely accurate. Sounds like it has a lot of merit to it, but I don't know because I wasn't there. But I went back and listened to an interview from January 20th of 2016. So this is after the Titans had hired both Mike Mularkey and John Robinson. Our afternoon show at the time, it was George Plaster and Floyd, and they had Steve Underwood, the president and CEO of the Titans, on. And I want to preface it with this. It would be very easy when you hire somebody new. It's like getting married. It would be very easy for the Titans to say, Mike was the guy we knew, the way he handled the team on an interim basis. Mike was our guy. Amy knew it. We knew it. And when we interviewed him, it confirmed it. And we didn't need, because we know Mike's the guy to lead our football team. Go buy your PSLs right now. Go get behind Mike Mularkey. And I don't think that Steve Underwood, albeit he's a lawyer, but I don't think Steve Underwood was thinking about future litigation when he was on with George and Floyd. And Steve Underwood was asked, was this Mike Mularkey's job going into the interview process?
Let me ask you this. You all have caught a lot of flack, as you know, about the Mike Mularkey hiring. I want you to talk a little bit about it, but I guess what I want to know is, was it his job to lose at the end of the season? Was he going to have to bomb an interview, or was it more open than that?
I think it was more open than that. Now, Amy had developed a business relationship with Mike and would talk to him after every game. They stayed in communication during the week. And I think Amy did develop a comfort level with Mike during the season. But she had not made her mind up until all the interviews were complete. In fact, we sat around in a room after Ray Horton was interviewed and discussed the interviews for several hours before she made a final decision. But she had gotten to know Mike. I think she believed that Mike had done a really good job under adverse circumstances.
And so that sounds right there like, hey, we interviewed these candidates and we took our time. And even after the Ray Horton interview, the one that Ray Horton is joining Brian Flores' lawsuit about, it sounds like Underwood in January of 2016 was telling the truth there. I can only go off of what he said. And then Underwood continued and said, look, that Amy liked Mike Mularkey, obviously, because they ended up hiring him. But Amy was going to do probably what you would want any owner to do.
I think Amy tried to look, at least to some degree, objectively at what Mike had to work through as an interim, and had made a connection with him. She did feel a comfort level with him, but still wanted to look around and see what might be out there, because for her it's the first opportunity ever to conduct interviews for a head coach, and so we did interview 3 other, I thought, very qualified candidates in addition to Mike, and those men offered up great ideas. They were great interviews. Doug and Terrell were both interviewed by a number of other teams for their head coaching position. But at the end of the day, I don't think it hurt Mike that he had been here and had gotten to establish a line of communication with Amy over the couple of months that he was our interim.
I mean, look, nobody's saying that you're not allowed to have a favorite when you start doing the job. Nobody's ever said that you're not allowed to use the audition that the guy had as interim coach to decide, factor into your decision-making whether or not he should be the head coach. I guess when I hear that from Steve Underwood, there's almost a part of me that wants to apologize to the Titans. Because yesterday, I slammed them yesterday. Just slammed them for that statement because – the way I remember it was everybody knew Mike Mularkey was getting the job. I remember doing the pregame show before the final game of the year against the Colts, and all the pregame shows on national TV were talking about how the Titans were expected to retain Mike Mularkey. Ed Werder, we had the Ed Werder tweet where he said that part of the reason why John Robinson emerged as a candidate was his willingness to work with Mike Mularkey as the head coach. But right now, all we have is Mike Mularkey in 2020 saying that the Titans had sham interviews. And I trust Mike Mularkey. I like Mike Mularkey a lot. But that doesn't mean that everything he says is right. We got Mike said it in 2020. We got the Titans statement yesterday. And now we got what Underwood said at the time. And you know what was amazing to me about those Underwood clips?
What?
if you were to interview Steve Underwood today, if you were to say, all right, Steve, I want to put you on the hot seat. I want to ask you what you remember of the 2016 coaching search. And you were to say the exact question, you were to ask the exact question that George asked Steve Underwood, was this Mike Mularkey's job or did he have to bomb an interview? If you were to ask Underwood that, the exact answer to match with the statement they put out yesterday and to match with exactly what would be the politically correct thing to say today is what he said 5 years ago. If you were to say, did you really look around at other candidates? And he talked about the four guys, and Terrell Lawson's had other interviews, and Doug Marone's had other interviews. That's exactly what you would want to say today. And so my mind is not made up. I remember what I remember from this. And I think some people, which we'll get to in a second, I think some people's beliefs of who's right or who's wrong when it comes to a situation involving the NFL and race relations and hiring coaches, sometimes their opinions, I believe, are more formed by their own ideologies than they are by the actual reality. And I'm trying to focus on reality. Did the Titans run a sham coaching search? I felt yesterday like they did from what I remember. But I'm going back and I'm like listening in places that I don't think other people knew where to find. I don't think anybody else knew where to find that. And I went back and I listened to it. And as I listened to it, I'm like, this tracks with what the Titans said yesterday. And so while everybody, Mike Florio took an Underwood quote and put up a story on Pro Football Talk about how the Titans, and I think the Underwood quote, and I'll get it for you in a second, but I think the Underwood quote was something like, Amy had a certain comfort level with Mike. And almost Florio's article was basically, see, this proves that it was a sham interview.
He was the interim head coach. Of course she had a relationship with Mike Mularkey.
And so all I'm going off of is I thought George asked the question 5 years ago, 6 years ago, however the hell long ago this was, 6 years ago asked the question of Steve Underwood, the then Titans president, that was this his job to lose or was it open? And it could have been very easy for Underwood to say, Mike did such a good job as interim coach, we knew he was the guy. Because that would, promote confidence of the hire that they just made. And he didn't do it. He said it was an open interview search. They spent 4 hours going through this. The more and more I hear this, the more and more I look back at it, the more and more I think the Titans might be telling the truth. And that's all I care about is what's true, what's right, what's wrong. The merits of whether or not the Rooney Rule is a joke or not, to me, I think that's already been decided. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think the Rooney Rule is an effective way to get minority coaches hired. But again, as I said many times yesterday, and I stand by it, the Titans are not a racist organization. I do not believe that the Tennessee Titans are a racist organization. I do not believe that Amy Adams Strunk has a hint of racism inside of her. I don't think so. And so after listening to that, and again, it has nothing to do with my ideology. I told you guys yesterday I thought their statement was a joke. I went back and listened in a place where, you can back me up on this. I don't think the Titans knew where that audio that I just played was.
No, you dug through
I knew where to
lot
go.
Of stuff. You blew some dust off.
I knew where to go, but you really have to know where to go to find that. And I knew where to go because it was our radio station. And so I'm starting to believe that the Titans are telling the truth here. I'm willing to accept it as a possibility. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get your thoughts on it, Caroline. Ian, your thoughts on it as well, kind of the latest, because I do think there's kind of a picture that's being painted here about the Titans. And the one thing that I'm not going to do, that a phone conversation 14 minutes ago with somebody that works here, I think that's probably fair to say, he will go there. Fair?
Fair.
We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game. Caroline, tell us about Caesars Sportsbook.
It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Even though the NCAA tournament is in our rear view, we've got the Masters to bet on, so Caesars Sportsbook has released a brand new offer for new users. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app and get started with up to $1,100 in first bet insurance. Just use the promo code RADIOCZR when you sign up. That's one word, RADIOCZR, and place your first bet on hockey, NBA, MLB, on the Masters, you name it. Now, if you need something to put money on, I would look at Scotty Scheffler to win the Master. Currently, he's tied for second, and his odds are plus 900. So it's worth sprinkling just a few dollars on Scotty Scheffler because it's looking like he is doing pretty well here on this Masters Friday. But that's my take, and do what you want to do, and do it with the Caesars Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sports.
Here they come, turn 4.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Join me for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 as we talk all the big stories in NASCAR, IndyCar, and the motor racing world. We'll also talk to some of the big names in the sport. It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers, Bristol Motor Speedway, and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Trying to find a new home right now is next to impossible. Very little inventory, prices are crazy high, rates are moving up. Here's a better idea. Let my friends at Loan Pronto refinance your current home, turn all that equity you have into cash, and totally transform your house. A new kitchen, new bathroom, a pool. Think about it. Your home value is up. Instead of wasting all that on an overpriced new house, convert that equity into cash for a home makeover. One local couple did it and got $200,000 out. They added new hardwoods, an outdoor living space, a swimming pool with spa and all new cabinets and appliances, plus a home office. Now they have their dream home, and they never had to move. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their home improvement refi. Give your home a total makeover, and do it now. You can even skip your next house payment in the process. Call now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
Smokeville Smoke Shop in Hendersonville wants to invite you, your friends, and family to their huge 420 blowout event. Live music, on-site food and dessert trucks, discounts store-wide, and a free dab bar. Smokeville Smoke Shop's 420 event will be held at their flagship store located at 699 West Main Street in Hendersonville on Wednesday, April 20th. Visit them on Instagram at Smokeville Smoke Shop for more event details and to take advantage of additional special offers. Smokeville Smoke Shop for all your smoking needs.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Amy spent almost a week and a half here doing nothing but researching and interviewing candidates for general manager and head coach. She was here the entire time that was going on. And, you know, George knows, Floyd will tell you, going through those interviews 4 hours at a time with men who have experience in the NFL, those are very time-consuming, deliberate affairs where everybody gets to ask all the questions that they want on both sides and get, you know, what you really want to do is get to know that person, even if it's only, for that half day.
There you go. That was Steve Underwood on January 20th, 2016. And that was more of a question. People forget this, but Amy Adams Strunk at the time, she had just become the controlling owner. The team was an absolute mess. They were the worst team in the league. They were 3-13, and ownership was almost invisible. I mean, people were wondering who owns this team. There were calls for them to sell the team. I was calling for them to sell the team. Everybody was. And there was a question about Amy Adams Strunk being more visible. And that was Steve Underwood basically saying at the time to George and Floyd on our afternoon show that she was involved so heavily in all these coaching interviews. Now, I say this because if you had just played that Steve Underwood clip, the former Titans president and CEO, if you had just played that Underwood clip and you had said, okay, Underwood said that on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. that would sound like something exactly that you would expect him to say, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're just going through the politically correct way of saying things.
Right.
Covering your butt.
If you didn't hear and George Floyd will tell you, then you would have no idea that wasn't this morning and that was 6 years ago when all this happened. So I was in a conversation for another thing right before the show. Caroline was a part of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Joe. We were talking to Joe. Now, Joe put out a column in which he slammed the Titans yesterday.
The headline even was, my jaw dropped just watching.
What was the
headline? Like something about how the Titans should be ashamed.
Yeah. I mean, Joe just slammed him. And I was texting Joe yesterday about and we'll get to this when we discuss Joe's column later, but I called Joe about something totally unrelated to this. And then I was telling Joe right before we hopped on the air. I was telling Joe that I had found this Steve Underwood audio from 2016, and I'm kind of starting to believe the Titans a little bit. And Joe was having none of it. Fair?
Oh, fair. He said, of course he said that. Of course he said that. And that's a valid argument. There's no proof to say that he's telling the truth, but there's also no proof to say that he's not.
That's where I sit with all of this. Because I know Mike Mularkey.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mike Mularkey. I trust Mike Mularkey. I know Mike Mularkey has an axe to grind with the Titans. And again, I like Mike Mularkey. I consider Mike Mularkey a friend. And he definitely has an axe to grind with the Titans. Now, I don't think Mike Mularkey is going on, the Steelers Zone podcast and nobody heard and is thinking, I'm going to say something that's going to make some big-time headlines. And when you listen to the Mularkey audio, it doesn't sound to me like he was trying to throw the Titans under the bus for the Rooney Rule, but was more so just trying to throw them under the bus for wasting the time of the guys that they had brought in to interview.
Because Ray Horton or not, they still would have satisfied the Rooney Rule.
Right, and Doug Marrone interviewed for the job too,
Yeah.
And so whatever. But that's what Mike Mularkey said. And again, we know Mike has an axe to grind with the Titans. I know Mike has an axe to grind with the Titans. And I think it's a fair axe to grind with the Titans. I understand why Mike feels how he feels. Steve Underwood, though, in 2016, talked about how it was such an open coaching search. And Joe was like, of course Underwood said that. What else would he say? And when I heard Joe say that, I believe, and Joe was not here at the time covering the Titans. When Joe said that, I felt like there is nothing that he could hear or see that would change his opinion on this at all. That no matter what, other than Mike Mularkey coming out and saying, yeah, I lied, there's nothing that would change Joe's opinion. And I don't think Mike Mularkey did lie. I don't know if Mike Mularkey maybe embellished what he was told. Maybe he's telling the truth and the Titans. But I'm just willing to say, I think that it's fair for us to look back at what happened, what we remember, and go from there. Do I think the Titans were going to hire anybody else? No. I do not think the Titans were going to hire anybody else. But hearing Steve Underwood say exactly what would be the chain of command or exactly the process that you're supposed to go through, and this was before skirting the Rooney Rule was a big deal. Mm-hmm. I mean, it used to just be teams just used to skirt it, and it was obvious they were skirting it. The Raiders hired a coach one time, and they interviewed Art Shell. It was the guy that was our coach 30 years ago, we interviewed him, and we're going to hire this guy instead. The Raiders in 2017 hired John Gruden to a $100 million contract. They had already gotten the agreement from Gruden and then fired Jack Del Rio on the field after the last game. They knew they were hiring Gruden. They were asked about the Rooney Rule and the fact that you knew who you were going to hire, so you hired John Gruden. So what did you do for the Rooney Rule? And with a straight face, Reggie McKenzie, the general manager at the time, who later got run out of town by Gruden, said that they interviewed T. Martin, who was the offensive coordinator at Southern California. When is the last time an offensive coordinator from college went to the NFL as a head coach? Cliff Kingsbury did it when he was technically the offensive coordinator at USC for 3 days and then went to the Cardinals. But in reality,
he was the Texas Tech head coach.
Right. He was the fired Texas Tech head coach.
Yes.
I think, and I have to look it up, I think Lane Kiffin went from USC offensive coordinator to coach of the Raiders. But, like, T. Martin was never going to get that job. And so that is ridiculous. But the Titans, all we have to go off of is what happened at the time. And I honestly, when I went looking for that audio today, like the Steve Underwood audio from the past, to see what Steve Underwood said, do you know what I was expecting to find?
Him to say that it was absolutely positively Mike Mularkey's job?
Yes. I was looking for the opposite. I was looking for, we knew when Mike was the interim head coach that Mike was going to come in here and do a fantastic job. We knew. Now, we went through the process, and we had great interviews, but we knew from the start Mike was the guy, and I think John really realized it, and Amy knew it, and we saw him every week because you're trying to pump up the guy you just hired. And instead, it was like, no. We sat there after we interviewed Ray Horton for 4 hours. And we talked it out, and we, sat there and discussed what do we think, what do we have, what do we know. And Joe even said to me, he's like, do the timeline. They announced the Mularkey hiring on the same day that they interviewed Ray Horton. I hate to break it to you. You ever sat there and been in a discussion with somebody, and after you had finished that discussion, said to yourself,
let's do it.
All I need to see.
Why waste any more time?
All I need to see.
And that doesn't necessarily mean the Titans are completely innocent, but at least it's not incriminating.
Right. I mean,
it's not another notch in the negative category.
I went looking this morning when I went for that audio. I went looking for the opposite of what I found. And what I found was exactly what you would have expected them to say today, which is what they said then. Which is not exactly what you would have expected or what they would have had to say. Now, again, I think the Titans are probably not completely telling the truth, but that's just what I think. But I'm sitting here like trying to, I guess what I'm saying is I think a lot of people make up their minds about things, and then there's nothing that they can ever hear about anything that will change their mind. And on this, I think yesterday had a pretty good sense of it, that it was a fake head coaching search. They wanted to hire Mike Mularkey. They did hire Mike Mularkey. I think part of the reason they hired Mike Mularkey that nobody's talking about is because they had to pay Ken Wisenhunt for 3 more seasons after they fired him. And so if you're paying one coach, like why would you want to go out and then have to pay full price for another coach when you could tell Mike Mularkey, like, hey, man, you've had 2 chances and it hasn't worked out. This is going to be your 3rd chance. Nobody in the NFL gets 3 cracks at it. So, you're going to make less than an actual coach, but you're our coach. I mean, and again, that's all speculation. I don't know. And Mike Mularkey did a good job. But I'm just piecing the information that I feel like I remember, I feel like that we have access to, and I'm not going into this I'm not going into this looking for something that confirms my belief and only sharing with you all what I found that confirms my belief. Because this is the opposite of confirmation of my belief. We'll get your thoughts on it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025 here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. And there is one weird element of all this that I literally laughed this morning when I saw. As far as the Titans and the statement and the wrongdoing and the finger pointing and the mad at them and it's crazy. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. I love Fireball Cinema Whiskey. Why? Because it goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There is no better way to enjoy the weekend than with ice-cold Fireball Cinema Whiskey. Fireball Cinema Whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. I absolutely love it, and I am telling you, this weekend there's a lot going on. We got all kinds of sports. We got a big hockey game tomorrow. If you're going to be celebrating, if you're going to be out downtown, if you're going to be, make sure you get your buddies and get some Fireball. That's Fireball Cinema Whiskey. Please be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinema Whiskey. Please enjoy responsibly. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm, his shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' 3rd of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Spring has sprung, which means it's time to renew your home with Social Furniture. It's their Spring Fling sale, where all furniture is up to 50% off. That's right, up to 50% off on top name brands such as Serta, Sealy, Simmons, Caracol, Bernhardt, and Woodhouse. At Social Furniture, you'll find new bedroom furniture, mattresses, and sofas, all up to 50% off. Spring into Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local, shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
Music City. Start a profitable new chapter of your life and be your own boss with your very own Little Guys Movers franchise. In fact, no matter where you are, from Green Hills to the Gulch to down in Franklin, if you can hear my voice, there's an affordable, profitable Little Guys franchise opportunity nearby. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Join a team with 30 plus years of growth and good times. Learn more at littleguysfranchise.com. That's littleguysfranchise.com. And then make that call.
Most shoppers today fall into one of two categories. You could be like Dave, who settles for nothing but the finest.
I drive only European luxury sedans, wear the finest Italian leather shoes, my shirts are custom made, and I expect white glove service from those I do business with. I appreciate world-class brands, and at this point in my life, I just don't want to compromise on quality, no matter what I buy.
Or you might be like Steve, whose goal is to always get the best deal.
I'm frugal. I'm all about finding value. I want the best price, and I don't mind going out of my way to get it. I work hard for my money. I just want to make sure when I buy something, I can have confidence in knowing I'm not overpaying for it. Stop being cheap. It's being smart.
You never see these two guys in the same store, except for one.
That's why I shop at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds is that rare shopping experience where you can have it all. Uncompromising luxury and unbeatable value. Exceptional service and the guaranteed best price in America. A premium experience and a smart purchase. This is where the best of all worlds come together. Genesis Diamonds, voted best jewelry store year after year. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Saturday.
That one's gone! Classic Yankee Stadium homer. It's gone! Home run! There's Finnegan's Rainbow right there!
It's one of baseball's oldest rivalries as the Yankees take on the Red Sox. Coverage begins at 2:30
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let me ask you this. You all have caught a lot of flack, as you know, about the Mike Mularkey hiring. I want you to talk a little bit about it, but I guess what I want to know is, was it his job to lose at the end of the season? Was he going to have to bomb an interview, or was it more open than that?
I think it was more open than that. Now, Amy had developed a business relationship with Mike and would talk to him after every game. They had, they stayed in communication during the week, and I think Amy did develop a comfort level with Mike during the season. But she had not made her mind up until all the interviews were complete. In fact, we sat around in a room after Ray Horton was interviewed and discussed the interviews for several hours before she made a final decision. But she had gotten to know Mike. I think she believed that Mike had done a really good job under adverse circumstances.
There you go. That was Steve Underwood. You heard George Plaster ask the question. That was in January of 2016. And that's exactly what the Titans are claiming now. It'd be a lot easier if Steve Underwood said the opposite to discuss this, but he didn't. And again, I had to go digging to find that audio. So one thing about this that I found to be just fascinating this morning, and this was part of my searching for confirmation bias on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. I went and ESPN, because they have the Masters, they kind of have taken the A-team off of their main programming today. So Mike Greenberg wasn't in, Stephen A. Smith wasn't in today, and it was on ESPN too. But I'm watching this ESPN morning show, and instead of actually watching it, I just literally held the fast forward button throughout the entire time, just waiting for them to talk about it. So, I'm like, all right, here we go. We start off in the NBA, move from that. Oh, we got to talk about the Chiefs because God forbid we do not talk about the Chiefs enough.
With all the big Chiefs news coming out
Oh,
today.
I mean, just Chiefs story after Chiefs story. So then we talk about the Chiefs. Then we have Jessica Mendoza on, talking a little baseball.
All right.
Then we go back to basketball. Then we go to the draft. Then we go to what do the Cowboys need to do.
And then
we go
LeBron,
to
I'm sure.
I mean, just.
Play the hits, ESPN.
So I just held the fast forward button down all the way through. And they did not talk about this one time. And I'm thinking this is a pretty big deal that in the biggest lawsuit affecting the NFL right now, that the Titans have now gotten thrown into it. And there's a lot, because it didn't happen that long ago, although 6 years is kind of a long time. There's a lot of, there's Mike Mularkey and his axe to grind. And, what was this? It's not like it's a hopping time for sports right now. Now, Tiger, there was a lot of Tiger, this morning on ESPN.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not really a hopping time as far as the big drama is concerned. Like Tom Brady didn't come out today and say that this is going to be his last season. It isn't like that there's
not a ton of breaking news.
No, LeBron did not come out and say he's quitting the Lakers. So it's like,
But he
all
is out
right.
for the rest of the season.
Yeah, but he had already quit on the Lakers anyways. But they didn't even mention it. And this is usually right up their alley, right? Here's the allegations of a sham interview. Here's the audio. Dominique Foxworth, what do you think? And there was none of it. And yesterday, because we were talking about the Titan statement, which I disagreed with, and you were like, they had to put out a statement. I'm like, I don't think this is going to be that big of a deal tomorrow. And when I saw they didn't talk about it, I'm like, man, they didn't even talk about it on TV.
Well,
Now,
just
it
because
doesn't
they
mean
didn't
that
talk
can't-
about it on ESPN doesn't mean the Titans shouldn't have put out a statement.
Joe just texted me.
Oh, what did Joe say?
Should I read the text without reading it first, or should I read it first and then read? And
You
then
should
decide if
probably
I
read it first, but that's no fun.
All right, fine. Okay, here you go.
Okay.
I haven't been able to listen, but think about how dumb it is to try to glean anything from an Underwood radio interview from that time period. The day after Mularkey was hired, Jason Wolf had a story in the Tennessean about the Fritz Pollard Alliance being pissed. And it was I'll leave this part out of it. The Titans were on ultra high alert at that time. And Joe said, don't you have sources there? I've been told the column was 100% correct. And it has been common knowledge for years. What is wrong with you? So, I mean, again.
My point is, I see where Joe is coming from, 100%.
I don't disagree with it. But I think Joe's already had his mind made up, though.
Joe has his mind made up. And I think that's the thing here, is you can believe whatever you want to believe. But at the end of the day, that Steve Underwood interview didn't incriminate the Titans anymore.
No.
Does it mean that he was telling the truth? No. He could have been lying for all we know.
Sure.
But he didn't incriminate the Titans further.
Didn't even crack open the door an inch.
No.
For there to be anything there.
No.
And then about the Fritz Pollard thing, because I do remember this. The Fritz Pollard Alliance, which is an organization that works on behalf of promoting black coaches and kind of holding the NFL accountable of, the advancement of minority coaches. Mm-hmm. The Fritz Pollard Alliance said that the Ray Horton interview was a sham interview. So Paul Kaharski, Ian, if you can get this was Outkick 360 yesterday. Paul Kaharski not only had an article at ESPN.com in which Ray Horton refuted that, but Paul Kaharski said that Ray Horton, he didn't call Ray Horton. Ray Horton called him.
The Fritz Pollard Alliance, which really tracks minority hiring and minority opportunity, had told the Tennessean that Horton was uncomfortable with the process, felt insulted by the process. Ray Horton I didn't call Ray Horton. Ray Horton called me and gave me a very strong quote denying that. He said, I'm not insulted. I was very happy Mrs. Strunk gave me an interview. I think she was very impressed with me. I was told some ideas I gave are going to be implemented. I'm still under contract. I'm talking about a contract extension. The insulted comment is not true. I'm very happy. I was very happy to be interviewed. Now, is that what Ray Horton felt at that time, or did Ray Horton feel like for career survival, he couldn't be seen as being upset and he needed to smooth things over? I can't say for sure.
So some people are going to say that Ray Horton said it just because, he wanted to clear the waters and that it wasn't. All I can go off of is what somebody says. So all I can go off of is what Underwood said at the time, what Ray Horton called Paul Kuharsky and told Paul Kuharsky, as Paul Kuharsky just said Ray Horton called Paul Kuharsky, and Kuharsky said that he didn't have any problems with it. Now, it may be, Horton was just saying that because, but again, if that's the case, then Horton lied to Paul Kuharsky. So then who's to say that Horton's not lying now? You know what I mean? Like, everybody sees this through the lens of what they want to see it as. And I have tried to approach this entire thing for the last 2 days. You know how I felt when I first saw this because I thought it was a sham interview. And I thought they knew the whole time who they were going to hire as coach.
Yes.
And I still believe that. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go off of what people said at the time. And that if you didn't tell the truth then why would I assume that you're telling the truth now?
And I think here, too, all of this he said, she said, saying that, Ray Horton had no hard feelings, or Steve Underwood saying it was a legitimate interview. That's what people are saying. And without legitimate evidence, an email, a text message, whatever it may be, coming from the Titans saying that, why would we even interview these other people? Mike Mularkey's obviously getting the job, something along those lines. Then you can only go off of what people say, whether you think they're lying or whether you think they're telling the truth. That's all we have.
Yeah, but I think sometimes people, Joe,
if your mind's made up, you'll believe what you want to believe.
Right, and then it's like, well, that's not true. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I agree with Joe, and we have several texters in the text line saying, well, yeah, of course Steve Underwood said that. Like, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like, you probably should
to
do
have
that.
the perfect PR answer for something that will come up 6 years later.
Maybe he had the perfect PR answer to that, so it wouldn't come up 6 years later.
Look, and Steve Underwood's smart about that kind of stuff.
And
he
that
is
could
great
have
at
been
that.
the case.
But
we don't know.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
I'm just putting the evidence in front of you, and I am not arguing a side here because I still think it was a sham interview. But I'm not arguing a side here. We're to your phone, 615-737-1025. We're right to him next. Your thoughts, your reaction on the old Underwood audio, the old Ray Horton quote to Kuharsky, the fact that he's now saying that's not true, all of it. It's all on the table. Hey, FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. This baseball season, turn Ks into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a risk-free first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up and place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. FanDuel has great promotions every day, and it's a safe and secure app, and you get paid fast, and you bet what you would make risk-free. So there you go. Just go for it. Just go risk-free. Go all in. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook app and my official sportsbook app. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using the promo code JGM to get started with your risk-free first bet up to $1,000. That's promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Hit or miss showers will continue this afternoon before wrapping up this evening. High, only 52 degrees. Frost, possible Saturday and Sunday morning.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Proud to announce that they have won the Top Gun Award for the best Pella sales organization in the U.S. They have the best culture, best customer satisfaction, and best growth in the business. To celebrate, Pella is offering their amazingly affordable products at 0% financing with no payments for 12 months. Do you need new doors or windows? I suggest you shop with Nashville's Pella experts
at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee ensures children and teens, especially those who need us most, are ready to read, ready for class, ready to graduate, ready for their career, and ready to serve the community. You can support local youth and their great futures by donating at bgcmt.org.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Bring your hive together with Spirited Hive. It's Hive O'Clock. What is Hive O'Clock? It's connecting or celebrating with your hive. A time to be present and create shared memories. At Spirited Hive, we become aficionados discerning what goes best with bourbon, tequila, and vodka. Bourbon whiskey with rosemary infused with honey and lemon. Tequila ginger infused with honey and lime. Or vodka cranberry infused with honey and lime. Available to purchase on reservebar.com or tap room for delivery within the hour. Join us at Spirited Hive on Instagram to see what the buzz is all about.
Mashing journalism.
They are 2 scores behind you. The math says that increases your chances of winning.
With sports fandom.
I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning, just emotionally numb from Titans and Packers.
And sarcasm.
You guys are the worst.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. No duh. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday again. We're investigating over here. Detective Stillman, my partner, Detective Fenton, and Detective Safar. We are going through, as we figure this out, what happened with the Titans in the 2016 sham interview, malarkey, and does it matter? And there's a lot of other questions that come from this that we will be continuing to track on throughout. But I did promise your phones on this, so phones we will go 615-737-1025. And I thought my volume was off, and now my volume is off. There you go. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I am also going to be watching Tiger, so if you're looking at the stream and my eyes go down, it'll be because I'm watching Tiger Woods at the Masters right now. We'll get to that in a second. Johnson, kick us off today on the Mike Mularkey hiring process. Go ahead, Johnson.
Hey, I've got a little something to say about that. Now, the best I could understand with the talking, I heard, I think, of 2 interviews. One of them, he said, Mike Mularkey himself said he was a very honorable man. And anybody can say that. But if he was an honorable man and he knew it was a scam and he wasn't honorable enough to let his friends go through the process and not say something, knowing that they wasn't no way in the world they was going to to me, that doesn't sound like a very honorable man.
Well, I think the thing that he was saying was that he was upset about the fact that he did something that he thought was dishonorable.
Well, I understand that. I understand. But to me, it's like, why didn't he say something back then? Why did he wait till now unless he decided he wanted to give a payback to the Titans for something that might have happened? You know what I mean?
No, I hear you, Johnson. I think that's a great call. Thank you for your call.
I do think there's an element of that could be true.
And I thought about, trying to think of the right way to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Mularkey feels like he was treated unfairly by the Titans. And I think Mike Mularkey feels like he was treated unfairly by the Titans because
he was.
I think he was. I thought Mike Mularkey was royally screwed over by the Titans. This is what I think happened. And this is going to be a little bit of a soliloquy here, but it's something that's important to me as far as the annals of Titans history is concerned. If I do this for 30 years, if I do talk radio in Nashville for 30 years, I'm really worried that when I get older, I'm going to be and in 2013, the Titans, I'm going to be rear view mirror radio.
You are. You're going to be
really
the grandpa just reliving the glory days.
Which is really bad because
we know, Grandpa Jared, you told us.
Right. Everybody wants what's new. Unless we have another pandemic, knock on wood, hopefully we don't. Everybody wants what's new. They don't want to discuss what happened 30 years ago. But I will say this with Mularkey. I think Amy Adams Strunk wanted Mularkey. I think all the other general manager candidates wanted their own coach, and they wanted the Titans to know that they wanted their own coach. I think John Robinson wanted his own coach. I think John Robinson was convinced by Floyd that it could work because Floyd knew Mike Mularkey and because, as Floyd told me when he got hired, and I'm like, why would he get hired if Mularkey's going to be the coach? Floyd was like, well, just give it a couple of years and then fire him. If the team loses, they were the worst team in the league. They were supposed to be bad. So then the expectation would be that after they were, let's say that they're 3-13 the year that Malarkey was the interim coach. Let's say the next year they're 5-11, like most bad teams are after they start their build-up from being bad. Then you fire Malarkey right then and there. We were 5-11. It wasn't good enough. See you, Mike. Patriot guy, come on in. But Malarkey screwed it up because he went 9-7. So they're the worst team in the league. They went 9-7 and were playing meaningful games in December of 2016, which nobody saw coming. I literally remember Ryan Suckup kicking like a 60-yarder in Kansas City in below minus 10-degree temperatures. And I remember watching the game with my dad and standing up and the anxiety of this big kick that meant the playoffs and everything else. And I remember being like, oh my God, I've missed this. Because the Titans hadn't had meaningful games like that in 8 years. And so they ended up losing to Jacksonville, and Mariota broke his leg, and they ended up not making the playoffs. But then there was a lot of excitement around the team. We can't fire the coach after that.
Mm-hmm.
Titans totally turned it around. Most improved team of the year. So then the next year, there was all this buzz, all this hype, and it was really, unfounded. It was like Peter King wrote an article in which he said the Titans were going to be the surprise team, and then everybody latched onto that. And then there was all this talk about the Titans. And they started the year off 8-4, but all the games were not exciting games. They were winning super ugly. Kind of like how they won some games this year.
Mm-hmm.
But, now everybody's like, a win is a win. But then it was like, we should be beating these bad teams by more. It's very odd how that whole thing had worked out. Anywho, so the Titans were 8-4, and they were going to make the playoffs, and then they went out west, and they lost 2 in a row. They lost to Arizona, which everybody blamed Malarkey for, which they probably should have. I mean, Malarkey used his coach's show to yell at Joe Rexrode, which was wild. Then they lost at San Francisco in a game where Adoree Jackson dropped the pick, but he made a bad coaching decision at the end, and, they ended up losing the game. So they lose to San Francisco, and then the Rams come in and beat them. They lost 3 in a row. They had to beat the Jags the last game of the year in order to get into the playoffs. If they lost that game, they were going to fire Malarkey. They won that game. Then they get to the playoffs. Then before the playoffs start against Kansas City in a game that they don't really have much of a chance of, rumors start coming out that if they lose the Kansas City game, they're going to fire Mike Malarkey. I mean, it was crazy. Then they won the Kansas City game. Sean McDonough, who was calling the game for ESPN, was like, take Mike Malarkey off the hot seat after this one, which I believed. The Titans had to release a statement the next day saying that Mike Malarkey was their coach going forward. Now, they didn't say how long. Then they go to New England. They get crushed by New England. But, again, divisional round of the playoffs for the first time in 13 years. Say he's pretty good, right?
Right.
And I think, and I use the word think very loosely here, Malarkey probably felt like John Robinson threw him under the bus because he did. And then he went out and he got a Patriot guy. So the problem was that Malarkey won more than he was supposed to win. He was supposed to be the fall guy for them not winning, and then they did win. And so I think he does feel an axe to grind with the Titans. I do feel like he feels he was completely disrespected by the Titans. And had Vrabel not worked out, you go back to that switch to Tannehill when they were 2-4. And they didn't make the playoffs the first year with Vrabel, and it didn't look like they were making the playoffs the second year with Vrabel, and it didn't look like they were going in the right direction with Vrabel. I mean, I thought that the quarterback decision that Vrabel and Robinson made, the next one, whether it was Justin Herbert or whether it was Tom Brady or whatever the next quarterback decision was going to be the last one. It was either going to be they make it and they are on, or they lose and they're gone. Because Marcus was the scapegoat for why they weren't playing well. Well, now you benched Marcus, so that it can't be his fault anymore. But it all worked out with Vrabel, and Vrabel's won, and Vrabel's had success, and all credit to Vrabel. But the reason that Malarkey didn't say it at the time, and Malarkey says he feels bad that he didn't say it, the reason he didn't say it at the time is because he's going to get a head coaching job in the NFL. 32 of those exist in the world. So I don't have any beef with it. And, yeah, he probably has an axe to grind with the Titans, but it doesn't make what he said not true. But some people will say that, well, he had a motive to do this. And, again, that doesn't mean that it's not true.
And I said this yesterday, and I stand by it, that intention is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to prove. And that's all that we have to go off right now is just he said, she said that you cannot prove intention of. Was
Sure.
Steve Underwood telling the truth? I don't know. You don't know the intention of what his words were. You don't know the intention of what Mike Malarkey's words were.
I know what he said.
We know what he said, and we can speculate. But that's all you can really go off of.
What do we have in our text line?
Jeff texts in and says, whomever is right and wrong, it is no shocker that a lawyer gave a well-prepared legal answer to a legal question and certainly not a good reason to base your decision. Any other answer, then or now, would have been poor representation for the Titans.
I don't know, man. Like, would it have really been poor representation if you had just hired Mike Mularkey, who was an incredibly unpopular choice with the fans as much as head coach is concerned? Because he was 18-36 in the 3 years, the 2 in Buffalo and the 1 in Jacksonville. And let me say for the record, I don't think there's a guy who's gotten shafted more with his coaching jobs than Mike Mularkey. He takes over the Bills. Drew Bledsoe's the quarterback. They make him keep all of his defensive coaches from Greg Williams' staff, and those guys didn't like Mike Mularkey back. And so he didn't get to pick his defensive coaching staff. Then he goes to Jacksonville, gets hired. Shad Khan buys the team. Gene Smith, the general manager, gets fired because Shad Khan wants to bring in his own guys, and Mularkey gets canned after 1 year. Doesn't seem very fair. And then he comes in here, and he wins right away, better than they had won in a long time. And then he wins again, and then he goes to Kansas City and he beats the Chiefs, and then he still gets fired. So, I mean, he really got shafted. And so if you were hiring a guy that was unpopular amongst your fans, you would want to pump him up. And the way you pump him up, I mean, somebody showed me something the other day. Somebody showed me an Instagram picture of their cousin. Their cousin got married. And so it's like the cousin and the husband, Mazel Tov. So it's the cousin and the husband. And the cousin's Instagram was like, the post was, I knew from the first second I saw you that you were the one.
Liar!
And so what I was told by the cousin, you know, the person that showed me the thing about her cousin, was that apparently this guy had like chased after this woman for a year and she had turned him down. and then finally went out with him and now getting married. So the whole like at first sight, probably not very accurate.
It sounds really nice on the day of your wedding.
But it doesn't seem to be very truthful.
No, it does not.
So if Steve Underwood was to do this, wouldn't he have wanted to be like, oh, we knew Mike. Mike had just blown us away as interim coach. There were things he couldn't control, but we believed in Mike, and again, like we said all day today, all we can go off of is what they've told us. Does it mean that we totally believe the Titans? No. Does it mean we're ready to do what Joe Rexroth did and write a column that highlights at the top how the Titans have never had a black general manager or head coach? No. And I got to say, like, and I'll shred Joe's column at some point today because I really didn't like it. But I don't think, like, when you say something like that the Titans are one of 6 organizations that has never had a black head coach, I feel like you're hinting that the Titans are a racist organization. Like, when you say that. And all I know is the Titans went about a 25-year period where Warren Moon was their starting quarterback, Steve McNair was their starting quarterback, and Vince Young was their starting quarterback. And the problem with Vince Young wasn't that the owner didn't like him enough. It was that the owner liked him too much. And so that bothered me because I don't believe that about the Titans. And do I think that the Titans, you know, look, I have my feelings towards that, but I'm just kind of looking everything up and hearing what people are saying and seeing how much it matters and everything else. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. It is not looking good for Tiger Woods. It is not looking good for Tiger at the Masters. Coming up next, why I am so just suffocated with my interest in Tiger Woods. And I think most of America feels this way. And it's crazy because I don't give 2 poops about golf. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
Now, you may say, well, a quarterback is more important than a running back. That's fine. You can say whatever you want.
The voice of the fan.
Even if we have to develop him while he's playing, I just want a boring first-round pick.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
BetMGM is pitching baseball fans a chance to swing for the fences. Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe. All you have to do is register using the code 1025GAME200, and you'll win $200 in free bets when you place a $10 moneyline wager on any Major League Baseball game, and either team hits a home run, regardless of your bet's outcome. Enjoy baseball like never before with BetMGM's daily promotions at your fingertips all season long. I take advantage of these every day. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 when you bet $10 on an MLB game and either team hits a home run. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, just call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Step up to the plate with Days Date. As one of the only Delta 8 brands that is truly single-sourced, quality and consistency is our guarantee. We are local and aim to provide the purest product while educating the consumer every step of the way. Stock up with Days next time at your local smoke shop. Visit us on Instagram at days.d8.official to learn more about our wide array of products and special offers. To browse our product line, visit dazed8.com, D-A-Z-E-D, number 8.com. The highest quality standard of Delta 8.
Golfers, tee it up this year at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Callaway. Featuring the new Rogue ST drivers, Callaway's most stable driver ever, with tungsten speed cartridge, jailbreak speed frame, and AI flash face. Engineered for max speed and forgiveness. 4 different models to fit every golfer's needs. Think speed? Go Rogue. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit for the new Rogue ST drivers today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
At Copper Branch, they live life to the fullest. Food is your energy and your life. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville, their goal is to serve you, your friends, and family quality, great-tasting, plant-based power foods. Visit Copper Branch at 601 Church Street for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with convenient and validated parking during library hours, and download their app for curbside pickup. Or come out for songwriter and live music nights several times throughout the week to empower, energize, and feel your best. Visit Copper Branch today.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. The Masters is rolling along at Augusta National. I have the ESPN Plus feed that's got Tiger up there. Not a great day for Tiger.
Not so hot.
No, it is not. And I'm getting a little worried. First of all, I got to tell you about golf. And golf has a lot of problems, which I'm going to get to right now. Right now, Tiger, it's like it's got his scorecard up. Just tell me what he is, plus or minus. Anywho, not a great day so far for Tiger as he's out there golfing. And I just want to see the traditional. Here you go. Tiger's through 8 right now. He's plus 3 today. He's plus 2 overall, and he shot a 71 yesterday. He's tied for 29th, which, again, we just want Tiger to make the cut. But here's the thing about golf that I find to be so hysterically funny. Right now, the only thing that matters about the Masters is Tiger Woods. Nothing else matters. When I do these FanDuel reads, and it's like Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, this one, that one, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
The golf people care.
They care, but they don't really count because there's not a lot of golf people.
The general population.
The 2021 Masters Sunday didn't average. The Sunday Masters last year, 9.45 million. 9 million people, essentially.
That's a lot of people.
Major League Baseball for the World Series averaged 11.7.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that.
Okay. So you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Golf is completely irrelevant when Tiger Woods isn't involved. In fact, when Tiger won in 2019, if you remember, there were storms that were coming into Augusta National.
Yeah.
So they had to tee off at like 8 a.m. that day. And it was like Tiger won at like 9:30 in the morning. I remember like at the bottom, it was like, CBS This Morning is not on. Face the Nation is not on because right now Tiger's golfing. And that had 10.8 million viewers. So when you completely move it, and you put it in the morning, Tiger still outdraws when other people are participating. And I can't even remember who won in 2021 last year. And honestly, I'm not even sure that I care. But,
Hideki Matsuyama?
Great. Whatever. And I'm looking back at
That was your guy last year.
I did say on Friday that Hideki Matsuyama was going to win or something ridiculous.
Yeah, you
like that out of my
ride or died with Hideki Matsuyama.
And then he won. Hey, just saying, golf expert over here. For example, Duke, North Carolina played on cable Saturday night. 16.3 million viewers. That's cable.
That's insane.
If that game was on CBS, you'd have 20 million viewers easy.
Probably so.
And so the point I'm making here is that golf is essentially irrelevant in American sports without Tiger Woods. And I'm thinking, how does golf come back from this? Like, this might be Tiger's last Masters. If it's not Tiger's last Masters, it might be like Tiger's, second to last Masters. And the idea of what he did in 2019, while I'm rooting like hell that Tiger Woods wins, I'm not expecting it. I just hope he makes the cut. That's all I'm worried about. And then let's see him play tomorrow, and let's see him play Sunday. And, everybody, get the Sunday Reds on and let's go. But golf is not a complicated game. Golf's not like hockey. If you've never seen hockey before, you get to a rink and you see what's going on there, and it takes you a while to figure out exactly how the rules of this sport work.
It's an overwhelming game.
Golf is simple. You hit the ball, you try to keep it on the fairway, you try to get it on the green, and you try to put that little white ball into that little hole. That's all you do. Everybody knows how it works. You try to get the ball in the hole in as few strokes as possible. When Tiger is playing, I am so invested. Like, if Tiger, I remember a couple years ago, he came out of nowhere and on Sunday was in contention for the Valspar. And I didn't even know what Valspar was, but I watched, and the ratings were through the roof. If you're not Jim Nantz, like if you're not some just golf guru, golf is so incredibly boring. The players are boring. There's nothing interesting about it. And I think about all these sports, and it's like, yes, the NBA took a hit when Michael Jordan left, but they had Kobe Bryant. They just, Kobe comes in, and now Kobe's the main character in the NBA, and then LeBron comes in, and he's the main character in the NBA, and it's not as popular as Michael Jordan, but it's still pretty popular. I think one of the things that's hurt baseball, again, I talk about the 11.7 million viewers last year on average for the World Series. It's not great. Let's the Braves and the Astros. Let's get the Yankees and the Cubs in there, and then let's see what happens. Again, they're the stars of the sport. Football, it's amazing, right? They've got Peyton Manning retires, and people kept talking about the ratings dip, and they were like, it's the kneeling. The kneeling is why the ratings are going down. I was convinced. And it wasn't like it was a precipitous drop. It was like an 8% ratings decline or a 13%. It wasn't like 50% or something wild, and then obviously they went back up. I thought it was because of the lack of Peyton Manning. Because Peyton Manning gives you a premium game every week. So that's a game you could stick on Thursday night, Sunday afternoon, like Peyton's playing. When Brady leaves, think about Fox's schedule. And we talk about the NFC. Mm-hmm. Well, now when the Buccaneers, if the Buccaneers had Blaine Gabbert at quarterback and played the Rams, that's not a 3:30 Fox game. No. They play the Rams now, it's the number one game of the week. And so I looked at it as there was like a little bit of a decline when Peyton left, and then you get Patrick Mahomes comes in there, and Lamar Jackson comes in there, and Josh Allen comes in there.
This new era of quarterbacks.
And now you start to build it back up. I don't think there's anybody in golf that can do that. I don't think there's a single golfer. And it's not like these guys don't have personalities. Ricky Fowler has a personality.
Oh, yeah.
Bryson DeChambeau has a personality. A lot of these guys have personalities. Like them, hate them, love them. But they are just not interesting. I do not care. Justin Thomas, right now, I got it pulled up. Justin Thomas, here he is putting the ball by the cup. I'm about to fall asleep. Yesterday, the biggest problem I had was ESPN Plus allowed you to kind of just follow Tiger, and that's what I was doing. But I would, if Tiger wasn't up, if Scotty Scheffler was up, and he'd be hitting a shot, I'd be down, my head be stuck in my phone. And then by the time I look up again, Tiger's on his second shot on the fairway. I'm like, oh, crap. I try to watch Tiger. I mean, and it's crazy because I don't know what the answer is here. Like, I know that in college basketball that we'll always have blue bloods. College football will always have. Somebody will win the SEC every year. And whoever wins the SEC and whoever wins the Big Ten will always play in the playoff. And so it'll be Ohio State or Michigan, and it'll be Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Florida, Georgia. And so college football will always be fine. The NFL had humongous ratings for the Super Bowl, and it was the Rams who have no fans and the Bengals who have no fans. So the NFL could take a dump, and we'd put it on TV and watch it. Not worried about them. Basketball, I'm a little worried this year for basketball. No LeBron in the playoffs. And LeBron's a big driver of discussion, but they still have Durant and Steph Curry, and there's still going to be guys that play. I'm thinking about golf. Like, again, baseball, there's a way out for baseball. We get the Yankees and the Cubs. We get, those kind of franchises, the Red Sox. Now, they're not as big as they were once, but it'll be fine. I don't know what golf's exit plan is because Tiger's not going to be around forever. And I have zero interest in golf outside of Tiger. I am a Tiger fan. I am not a golf fan.
Well, I think there's a couple things at play here, and that you named all team sports. And teams have reputations that precede them. Like the Red Sox aren't, at least last year, were not a good team. And like this year, like the Toronto Blue Jays have better odds to win the division than the New York Yankees. But even still, a Yankees-Red Sox game will probably drive way better ratings than any Blue Jays game ever would, just because that's the Red Sox and the Yankees. It's Alabama football. It is Tom Brady on whatever team he's on. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Golf is such an individualized sport that, like, it doesn't have that reputation that precedes it.
But don't you need to have the next person? Golf has always had the next person. And golf has always tried to put out the next people. I mean, I covered the PGA in 2014. And Rory McIlroy was red hot. Mm-hmm. And there was thought that, remember that the PGA video game was Tiger Woods' PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And then it became Rory McIlroy's PGA Tour. Rory doesn't move any needles. Like,
yeah, and I also think that
Phil Mickelson moves a little bit of needles because he was Tiger's rival.
But
Phil's,
saw where that's kind of going
Phil's,
there with Phil.
out
yeah,
with the
Phil got the boot.
Soleimani and, those guys out there in, what is it, Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, what a joke. I mean,
think
what
also
a
just
freaking
like
joke.
The general population of people and sports fans could give one poop about golf.
I think that's it. I think that
golf is not an interesting sport.
I think when we hear people talk about like baseball and it's like, what's the biggest problem with baseball? It's so slow. It's so boring. I think golf suffers from the same thing.
I think so too. And I think the same problem, like golf has the same problem as baseball, that they just so badly want to live in the glory days in the past. They don't want to evolve the game. Golf is the exact same way. You can't even bring your cell phone into the Masters. It's a game that wants to, maintain this, this level of, snootery.
Yeah, sanctimonious.
Yes, exactly. And it's not evolving. And a lot of people just find that utterly boring.
Oh, I think golf sucks. Now, Tiger, it's so funny because golf's not complicated.
But you love the Bradys and the Tigers and the people who are the Jordans, the absolute upper echelon and best of their sport. I fall in love with those people.
I do. But at the same time, like
Tiger's awesome.
But I watch baseball.
Yeah, because you have a team.
But even if I don't, I like baseball. I don't really like the NBA that much. Somebody tweeted me and said the golf downloads and streams are higher than ever. Well, no, duh. Because now everybody is streaming everything.
Yeah, that's not a fair metric.
That's like when Fitz comes on and says, like, because he does, I guess, Sports Center on Snapchat.
Be nice to Sports Center on Snapchat.
And he's like,
hardworking people.
He's like, when we talk about NBA stuff, the kids are downloading the Sports Center Snapchat NBA stuff more than they're doing. I'm like, okay, 25 years from now, the NFL will still be infinitely more popular than the NBA. I don't care that the kids like the sneakers. It doesn't matter. It does not.
The kids love the sneakers.
It does not matter. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us next. His thoughts as Tiger, by the way, at 9 on a par 4. He's +2. Tiger on the edge of the green. See how Tiger does here. Chips it. It's going towards the hole, but it doesn't look like it's going to go in the hole. Darn. Probably. Oh, coming back a little bit.
Was it your expert golf analysis? Was darn?
Probably about 13 feet from the hole. But because for some freaking reason we take the score off the screen in golf. We don't do it in any other sport. But apparently we do it in golf. Some guy I've never heard of.
Because golf is better than you.
Pyatt is taking a tee shot. I couldn't give a rat's ass about him. But apparently we take the score off the screen. I don't know if this is going to be for birdie or for par for Tiger. But he's +2 through 9 on a par 4. the Masters. A tradition that people are watching less and less, unlike any other, unless Tiger makes it to Sunday. Go Tiger. Corey Curtis is next.
Join ESPN 1025 The Game for the Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. Benefiting Folds of Honor on May 16th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with the athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities. The Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. Sign up at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Tired of mosquitoes ruining your summer? Stop the bite. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com and check out your special offer. Take back your summer. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Realizing Geico's great service and licensed agents are available at your fingertips is like realizing the plastic piece that comes with your pizza isn't a tiny doll table. It's to keep the box from touching the pizza.
Hey, the pizza's stuck to the box. Where's that little plastic thing?
Dolly needed it for her tea party.
It's something that's been right there in front of you all along, like the dedicated Geico claims team available to you in the event of an accident to get you back on the road quickly, or how your smartphone charges faster when you put it on airplane mode.
Wow, what if I put it on rocket mode?
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico's industry-leading app lets you pay your bill, file a claim, manage your policy, or summon help when you need it. Or how those holes in your shower caddy are there so you can store your shampoo bottles upside down.
Showers happen fast when you're not waiting on shampoo.
Great service. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
Spring into savings at Electronic Express. Get up to 40% off the latest 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. That's not all. Get huge savings in every department, like computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Shop locally owned and family operated at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick, and Chase. I started my radio career as an intern right here at ESPN 1025 The Game. Now we're looking for our next great batch of interns. You think that's you? Send your resume to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply today.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Tiger Woods just sank a putt from 13 feet out for par. Tiger is +2 through 9. That's good enough to make the cut, right?
I don't know.
I thought you liked golf.
Well, I don't like golf.
Is that going to be good enough to make the cut, Ian? +2?
+2 is probably pretty borderline.
Oh, come on, Tiger. We're going to need Tiger to make the cut. Some of us are hosting Sirius XM this weekend. We really need Tiger to get it going. So, again, we've been following the story kind of surrounding the Titans this week, which was Mike Mularkey alleged 2 years ago that a sham interview took place with Ray Horton and Terrell Austin and Doug Marrone, and then Ray Horton joined the Brian Flores lawsuit. And while, again, Mike Mularkey says in 2020 that it was a sham interview, and what I remember of it was he was going to get the job, George Plaster asked Steve Underwood at the time on this station on January 20th of 2016 if there was an open job search at the time. Here's what the then president of the Titans, Steve Underwood, said.
Let me ask you this. You all have caught a lot of flack, as you know, about the Mike Mularkey hiring. I want you to talk a little bit about it, but I guess what I want to know is, was it his job to lose at the end of the season? Was he going to have to bomb an interview, or was it more open than that?
I think it was more open than that. Now, Amy had developed a business relationship with Mike and would talk to him after every game. They had, they stayed in communication during the week. And I think Amy did develop a comfort level with Mike during the season. But she had not made her mind up until all the interviews were complete. In fact, we sat around in a room after Ray Horton was interviewed and discussed the interviews for several hours before she made a final decision. But she had gotten to know Mike. I think she believed that Mike had done a really good job under adverse circumstances.
So, that kind of tracks. Corey Curtis joins us, News 2. Corey, your reaction to the last couple of days of turmoil surrounding the Titans?
Well, it's an imperfect situation, okay? We all know how hiring is done in this world, right? Mm-hmm. You hire people that you trust, you hire people that you think are talented, and you hire people that you like. And Amy Adams Strunk was very new to being an owner at that point, okay? And she had very limited people who she trusted. She brought in Steve Underwood because her dad trusted Steve Underwood, and she trusted Steve Underwood to show her the ropes of the job. And then she had Mike Mularkey, who she learned to trust. So, of course, he was going to be the leading candidate going in. Did they conduct their interviews? Yeah, they did. And from that point, they can hire whoever they want. I mean, I understand why people are upset about sham interviews and about decisions being made beforehand. But look, as long as he didn't have a contract, to me, to the letter of the law, they followed it, because he could have bombed the interview. Somebody else could have come in and blown them away. They had that opportunity to do that. And the other thing it did, which is what I think the Rooney Rule is really designed to do, is to get more people in the hiring circle to where they get in front of people and get a chance to impress, not necessarily for this job, but for the next one. And I'm not trying to excuse the Titans by any means, but I'm just trying to live in reality, okay? I mean, do we not think that Brian Daboll had the Giants job before he ever walked in the door?
Sure. I mean, as soon as they hired the general manager who was an understudy in Buffalo, of course he was going to go get a Buffalo coach.
Do we not think Josh Heupel was the head coach at the University of Tennessee as soon as Danny White got hired? Yes, he was. I mean, come on, this is just the way it happens, and you can call it the good old boy network, but it doesn't matter if it's football, and it doesn't matter if it's men or women or people of color. People are always going to gravitate to the people that they trust. Now, and I'm just talking about the hiring because, again, I'm a supporter of the Rooney Rule, and I'm a supporter of getting people out front of people so they actually do get a chance to get their foot in the door of those circles. But just go to Tampa. Who did Tampa trust when Bruce Arians stepped down?
They didn't run a search.
No, they didn't have to, because it's after the new league year. But, I mean, it was going to be Todd Bowles, because Todd Bowles had earned their trust, okay? He was going to be the guy. We all knew Todd Bowles was going to be the guy, right? I mean, that was going to be his job when Bruce was done. We all knew that, and that's just reality, So that's how people get hired. It just is, whether it's right or wrong. They followed the letter of the law. They conducted the interviews. They had two people that were minority candidates who they brought in and talked to and listened to, and they hired the guy that they trusted most, and the guy who by the way took a team that won 5 games in 2 years and posted back-to-back winning seasons and won them their first playoff game in 14 years. I know that has nothing to do with, what the lawsuit's about, sure, which is equal opportunity. I understand that. But even though they knew who their guy was. They conducted the interviews. They talked to the people. And by the way, Steve Underwood also has been a big fan of Mike Mularkey's for a long time. From my understanding was that he was a fan of Mularkey's when they hired Mike Munchak for the job.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. I want to go to 2018 and the coaching search that the Titans had there, because I think that was a sham coaching search too. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, everybody would say right now, Mike Vrabel is considered what? A top 5 head coach in the NFL right now?
Absolutely. That has nothing to do with it, though.
So, and John Robinson hired Mike Vrabel, not because of what Mike Vrabel did with the Texans, but he hired Mike Vrabel because he was hiring the linebacker of the New England Patriots to coach the Titans. We all know it. They interviewed Steve Wilkes to satisfy the Rooney Rule, and they interviewed Matt LaFleur, who I think they were interviewing to be the offensive coordinator, but they had to get around it in order to, pump him up a little bit
and
let it all work out. Wouldn't that be the only smart business decision to make? If you're going to fire a coach that had won 9 games in back-to-back years, won your first playoff game in like 13 seasons, and you're going to fire him, well, you, in any other business, you damn sure better know who you're going to hire if you're going to fire that guy. But now I feel like there's like a finger pointing here that is like, you have to go into all these interviews with a completely open mind and no preconceived notions, and everybody's on equal footing. And that's just not reality at all, Corey.
No, it's just not. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way. I mean, you start in your career early and you make contacts, right? So that you get a chance down the road for these things to blossom for you. You get a chance to impress people and do it. That's just, I mean, that's part. I mean, look, Emily Proud was an intern of mine. Do you think that didn't play an impact in her getting hired? I mean, I knew her. I knew her work ethic. I knew what she was all about. It's much the same for Mike Mularkey with Amy Adams Strunk. And, look, I understand you can't tell a guy, it's your job, we just got to do these interviews. And, I certainly wouldn't tell that to Emily that it was your job. But look, the fact that I know you, I trust you, and I know exactly what I'm getting if I hire you, that there's a lot to that in the world, because, bad hires can take years to get past. And we see that in the NFL, and we see it, everywhere else. And that's just, like you said, that's just reality. The good thing about the Rooney Rule, like I said, is it gets people out front and it gets them into those circles where they start talking to people. Does it need to produce more? Yeah, it probably does. But a lot of that goes with who's calling the shots, and the NFL needs to be more diverse as a whole on the management side of things. I mean, you look at the guys who are getting elevated. If everybody was as progressive as Bruce Arians is, I think things would look a little bit different. I mean, he makes a point, whether they're people of color or women. He's gone for diversity, and I think a lot of teams can take a lesson from that.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. Do you think this will have any impact on the Titans at all whatsoever?
I know some people do, and I mean, maybe it will, but again, they followed the rules. I guess you could say if they told Mike Mularkey this, then it wasn't in good faith, and maybe, but can you prove that? Can you prove that? I don't know. I mean, Mike Mularkey's not a liar. All right, you know Mike, I know Mike. Mike is not a liar. He's a man of conviction. And so I absolutely do not think he's lying. But I also know the facts aren't lying either, and that is that the Titans conducted their interviews. So I don't know. I mean, I guess if the NFL wants to make this lawsuit go away, then maybe they could, do something with them. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting, how this affects things going forward, because like you said, it's not realistic that I'm just, if somebody goes somewhere else, that they're not going to take someone that they're connected to. I mean, that's not the way I mean, say like the assistant GM at Tampa goes to take over wherever. he could very well want to bring Byron Leftwich with him, right?
No,
Because,
for sure. I mean,
that's
Amy
somebody
Adams
he knows
Strong.
and trusts him.
Yeah, Amy Adams Strong had just been thrust into the ownership role, so they were looking for a general manager. I mean, Floyd's the reason John Robinson's general manager of the Titans. I mean, does anybody have a problem with calling Floyd?
He trusted him.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at
Floyd, it. And she trusted Floyd. I mean, that's just, I mean, there's millions and billions of dollars on the line here, so people don't like to make willy-nilly decisions. I mean, the ones that do, wind up being the Washington Commanders and, make all sorts of bad decisions all the time.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. Fireball Hot Take Friday. What's your hot take this week?
Oh, gosh, you got me way off target here. You know what? I was thinking about these wide receiver contracts, and I think teams are making a massive overcorrection with the pay. Not that I want these guys to get all the money in the world, but there's no way in the world I'd pay Tyreek Hill $30 million a year. I mean, there's too many injuries, and there's too many other good young wide receivers in the game. I think that's an absurd contract, and I think going $10 million over the rest of them, because I think the next highest at the time was like 20, or had Devontae Adams already gotten his?
I think that Devontae got his like 4 days before Tyreek got his.
Okay. I would still view Devontae as better. But again, that's another one, they bypassed 22 and 23 million and just went straight from 20 to 28 and 30. And if I was any of the other GMs in the league, I'd be livid with those guys. I mean, because, what's Tyreek going to do? Say no to 24 million? I mean, come on. And so there's so wide receiver isn't like it used to be. It used to be a position it took guys 2 years, 3 years to really find their groove. And now we see guys come in and they're able to be impact players immediately. And, we're looking at this year's draft. There's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. And if you've got a quarterback who's good at all, we're seeing those guys produce. So I think some people have got some contracts that some teams are going to regret. And we'll see what happens, down the line with that.
Corey Curtis, News 2, as always, joining us on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Appreciate you, Corey.
All right, Jared. You have a great weekend. Good luck on your Sirius XM show. Hopefully, they don't throw you off the air.
Oh, T's and P's are appreciated. Corey Curtis, News 2, joining us on the program. By the way, I went to the Sounds game last night. I don't know why I'm wedging this in right here. I did have fun at the Sounds game.
Good.
I have one big takeaway from the Sounds. Our team needs to lose some weight.
All right.
No, we got some freaking Babe Ruths out there.
There's this one guy
that don't hit the ball like Babe Ruth.
And if you said his name, I would know it, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Dan Vogelbach from last year.
Yes, he is thick with
like
twosies.
that was last year. He was a bigger boy. But they had a couple boys up there. Like I'm watching our guys go up to bat, and they got freaking bellies. And then I'm watching their team go up to bat, Durham, and I'm watching Durham, and like their guys are like perfectly in shape. And I just was noticing this. I was with some of my friends at the game last night. We had a great time at the game, even though it was a little cold. Oh, I dropped my phone. But
last night.
I was sitting there. I'm like, and I'm watching these guys step into the batter's box. I'm like, yo, our guys need to lose some weight. We got some big old boys up there batting for us.
Maybe that's a good thing.
I mean, maybe.
Prince Fielder was a big old boy, but he was a slugger now.
Prince Fielder was a great Nashville Sound.
Yes, he was.
So I want to throw that out there. But, yeah, no,
maybe it's a good thing.
We got some big boys on the Sounds this year. Tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight on ESPN 94.9 as the Sounds take on the Durham Bulls, the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays at First Horizon Park. Pre-game show with Jeff Him is at 6:20. First pitch is at 6:35. And the post-game treadmill session will need to happen probably somewhere around 10 o'clock. I'm kidding. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, Spirited Hive, and Days Delta 8. This weekend's game, Saturday versus Durham, first pitch 6:35, Sunday first pitch 2:05, and it's all on ESPN 94.9.
Jump in the mind of an NHL veteran as Predators analyst Hal Gill joins Stillman and Company Tuesday afternoons at 5:30.
Here they are in a pressure situation every night because they need 2 points.
And Robbie and Rexroad Thursday mornings at 9:30.
Goaltending, I think it might be an issue at some point.
Presented by Duncan on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ESPN 1025 The Game and Smokeville Smoke Shop want to send you to an upcoming Nashville Predators home game. All you have to do is come into Smokeville Smoke Shop at 699 West Main Street in Hendersonville Wednesday, April 20th for their 420 blowout event and visit the game table to enter. While you're at it, be sure to stick around and take advantage of Smokeville Smoke Shop's store-wide discounts, free dab bar, as well as on-site food and dessert trucks and live music. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shop on Instagram for more.
Victory Award-winning New Amsterdam Vodka knows all about it, but in life, it's not always so clear. So New Amsterdam Vodka believes that in life, you've got to find your own wins. You've got to overcome your fears, go all in, even when you've got nothing at all. Find your wins. And when you do, raise that glass of New Amsterdam Vodka in victory. You've earned it. New Amsterdam Spirits Company, Modesto, California.
This segment of ESPN 1025 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Sounds Baseball is back at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Tampa Bay Rays affiliate, the Durham Bulls. The first 1,000 fans to arrive will receive a 2022 Nashville Sounds schedule cling. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters. So make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Well, Mike, if you could turn back the clock, where would I probably hate these questions, but would there be anything during your coaching career that you might have done differently or changed?
That's a good question. I'll tell you guys this. I've always prided myself in doing the right thing in this business, and I can't say that's true about everybody in this business. It's a very cutthroat business, and a lot of guys will tell you that. But I allowed myself at one point when I was in Tennessee to get caught up in something I regret. I still regret it. But the ownership there, Amy Adams Strunk and her family came in and told me I was going to be the head coach in 2016 before they went through the Rooney Rule. And so I sat there knowing I was the head coach in 16 as they went through this fake hiring process, knowing a lot of the coaches that they were interviewing, knowing how much they prepared to go through those interviews, knowing that everything they could do and they had no chance of getting that job. And actually the GM, John Robinson, he was in on the interview with me. He had no idea why he's interviewing me, that I have the job already. And I feel, I regret that's because I pride myself in my kids first, that they do the right thing. And I always said that to the players. And here I am, the head guy, not doing it. And I've regretted that since then. It was a wrong thing to do. I'm sorry I did that. But it was not the way to go about it. Should have interviewed like everybody else and got hired because of the interview, not early on. So that's probably my biggest regret.
There you go. That was Mike Mularkey yesterday. We found out about that. He said it in 2020, and it has launched this whole, with the Titans and their 2016 coaching search, which I do feel like we've covered every little nook and corner and cranny of the entire 2016 coaching search, and we're still trying to figure out who's telling the truth and who's not. My guess is the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I have one really big, overwhelming question for you, and you, Ian, and you, the callers, and you, the texters, and that is, do you really care? I mean, think about this, right? The Rooney Rule's a joke.
Yes.
Okay.
Its intention is not.
But it itself
is silly.
It's just not practical.
No.
The Titans followed the rules, right?
Uh-huh.
The Titans hired a coach, and he won some games. Titans fired that coach, hired another coach, went through the Rooney Rule. Again, kind of a mockery. And then they won some more games. What am I missing here? I truly feel like fans around the country don't really care about this. That, maybe we're making too big a deal out of something that is really not that big of a deal.
I would say the biggest deal about this is the repercussions.
What do you mean?
If they found some sort of, coaching search malpractice and the Titans will, have lawsuits taken out against them and there's legal action taken and there's repercussions from the NFL. But other than that, I think that a lot of people understand that the Rooney Rule, while its purpose is valiant, the way that it's constructed is not practical. And I don't think anyone really blames the Titans if they did go into that coaching search, steadfast about Mike Mularkey, but they were just checking all the boxes that they really needed to. If that came out as the truth, I would not lose sleep at night.
I gotta be honest with you. At the end of the day, the Titans followed the rules, and if you follow the rules, no, it's not. Well, let's use tax loopholes as an example. They exist, right?
Yes.
If you use them, I'm not gonna think you're a bad guy. If you lie on your taxes and you have to go to federal prison, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do what you're supposed to do, and it sounds like the Titans did what they were supposed to do, then I just – and honestly, I do think, the lack of black coaches in the NFL is something that people care about. But I don't think that – I still don't even understand the Brian Flores lawsuit, right? What's he suing against?
Well, the Brian Flores lawsuit, to me, the biggest part of it was the paying to intentionally lose games.
Right, but that's not really about what –
that's not what the biggest part of it that has blown up.
The way I interpreted the Brian Flores lawsuit was I'm taking a stand for the advancement of other black coaches because I felt mistreated and I feel like other black coaches are mistreated, right?
Yes.
And there have been positive effects of this lawsuit because since the lawsuits happened, Lovie Smith has been hired, Mike McDaniel has been hired, Todd Bowles has been hired. I think, NFL teams are kind of realizing, we need to show that we're more progressive as far as hiring these coaches are concerned, which I think is a good thing. But then all the other little subset of stuff that's come out, I don't think that Bill Belichick texting Brian Flores thinking it was Brian Daboll, I don't think that shows racism on the part of the New York Giants. Does that make any sense?
I think it shows that the New York Giants knew they wanted to hire, and I look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching search as well, and I use search in a very light term. They knew who they wanted to be the head coach.
They didn't have a
They knew who it was going to be. It was either going to be Byron Leftwich or it was going to be Todd Bowles. And they went with Todd Bowles. And that's exactly how it was going to be. And I have to assume that's how it was going to be from ever since Bruce Arians decided that he wanted to retire, was kicked out, or whatever it was going to be. Or if he thought, well, the day I do retire, I want Todd Bowles to take over as head coach. What's the problem with that?
I think it's a fair point. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I do have one follow-up on this that I want to get to, and then we'll get to your phone. Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Right here, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there, and love the fine folks out there. Want to tell you all about stop by Social Furniture, 5412 Charlotte Avenue in Nashville now, and enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Chicago Blackhawks at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 16th. Also, don't forget to check out their new sofas while you're there. Must be 18 to enter the contest. No purchase necessary.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Hit or miss showers will continue this afternoon before wrapping up this evening. High, only 52 degrees. Frost, possible Saturday and Sunday morning.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
No matter the weather, it's a perfect day to consider getting a COVID-19 booster, as recommended by the CDC. Brought to you by BioNTech and Pfizer.
Spring has sprung, which means it's time to renew your home with Social Furniture. It's their Spring Fling sale, where all furniture is up to 50% off. That's right, up to 50% off on top name brands such as Serta, Sealy, Simmons, Caracol, Bernhardt, and Woodhouse. At Social Furniture, you'll find new bedroom furniture, mattresses, and sofas, all up to 50% off. Spring into Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local, shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here to tell you this baseball season you can turn K's into cash and big hits into big wins with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a risk-free first bet up to $1,000. Just sign up, place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win. The defending champion Atlanta Braves about to be back in action. I've got my eye on the Dodgers this year. Freddie Freeman going from Atlanta to LA. I know that makes Braves fans upset, but I think the Dodgers are going to be stacked this year. Just make sure you do your bets on FanDuel Sportsbook. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your risk-free first bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brakes. Through May 24th, check out the spring brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts and get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads with 2 rotors. Restores safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
Sometimes their glass is half full.
That was unbelievable. It was the best NFL draft they've ever had.
Sometimes glass half empty.
What are we getting ourselves into here? Tough game.
And sometimes it's all about the numbers.
1 win, and they've gone on this streak, and now they're at 500.
Hang out with Darren, Donick, and Chase from 10 to 2 during your workday. Presented by Curation CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Join 1025 The Game this Sunday for the Preds Bud Light Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade. Drink specials, enter to win Preds tickets, and watch the Predators take on the Penguins. It's the Preds Bud Light Watch Party at Headquarters Beercade, 114 2nd Avenue South, downtown. Puck drops at 3 o'clock this Sunday. By the way, didn't I tell everybody stop worrying?
The Predators will go to the playoffs.
97.3% chance of making the playoffs.
Okay, but I do have
After
to
their
say,
win last night.
MoneyPuck.com is
97.3.
.com is quite finicky because it was 94 and then it was
is
85 and then it was
very
90 and now it's 94. Like
97.3.
97, excuse me, 97.3.
But it is very volatile. Apparently.
It is.
And I didn't know that in an 82-game season that one game would move the needle like that.
Clearly.
From that level of volatility. But the Predators won. They're 4 points clear of a playoff spot. They have 2 games in hand to Vegas. So I'm just telling you. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says the best answer is to have minority owners for 2 proposed expansion teams.
So I don't think the NFL is expanding, so I wouldn't worry about that. I have heard that there is kind of a push from a minority standpoint to have a minority chief owner of the Denver Broncos. Here's the problem, though. If I owned the Broncos and I was selling the Broncos, what do you think my number one qualification of owning the Denver Broncos or for me to sell you the Broncos would be?
I don't know.
What do you think I would care about the most if I'm trying to sell you my football franchise?
Winning?
No. I'm selling you my team.
Money?
Yes. How much money do you have? Because if it's like, well, we can sell it to a minority owner who's willing to pay $7 billion, or we can sell it to Jeff Bezos who's willing to pay $13 billion, I'm not going to begrudge the owner who sells it to somebody for more money. And so, like, again, all of these things, like, and I'm not saying that I'm for it or against it. Like, I'd like to think that I'm like a fairly moderate person as far as most social issues are concerned. I definitely believe that like privilege is legitimate and that a lot of people that ignore it are really ignorant to reality. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell a team they have to hire a black coach. And I'm not going to tell somebody who owns a team that they have to sell their franchise to a minority owner. And that's my problem. Is that, like, I don't see a solution in all this that isn't something along the lines of you almost have to make somebody hire a minority. And I don't feel comfortable telling somebody with their billion-dollar business that they have to do that. And I go back to the Titans. When they fired Mike Mularkey in 2017 to go hire Mike Vrabel, that was a good coaching decision because Vrabel's a good coach. But if you had told John Robinson you have to hire an African-American coach, well, would he have gotten the best coach out there? I don't know, but Vrabel's a pretty good coach. And so that's how I feel about it. I mean, again, you could say, like, that's the key to it, and maybe it is, but what are you going to do? Tell Denver, hey, Bolin family, I know you guys can't agree on anything, but we're going to go ahead and take less money so that somebody that has a minority background can own this team as opposed to somebody who can pay you more money. And I'm not saying that they're...
It's just not how you do business.
Right. It's just not capitalism. What's next?
One person texts in and says, why are women in coaching roles and management roles not as big of a concern as minorities in coaching roles and management? Is it just as important, right? I'm just confused on why the focus is on minorities when there are so many minorities and women who need to be included as well.
I mean, I think the NFL's taken a pretty solid step forward in including women in the game. I mean, one argument that can't be held is that, at the time, I believe when Brian Flores got fired, there were 2 black head coaches, Mike Tomlin and Robert Saleh. And the thought process was, how can a league that is, 90% black be represented with 2 of 32 teams with a black coach? And I think that's a really fair question to ask. Mm-hmm. I mean, the league is not 90% women.
No.
So, like, that argument does not exist. I mean, I have no problem. I've said this about everything. And I don't know, like, if this is suffice for some people or if it doesn't suffice for other people. I don't know. I do not care if the Titans coach is a man, is a woman, is, white, black, Hispanic, Asian,
sexual orientation, whatever it might be.
Ecuadorian. I don't care.
I think that would fall under Hispanic.
Go win some football games. Like that. I mean, I'm telling you, I do not care. I know this is crazy, right? Like, I only care about winning and losing. I do not care. Don't care. And I think that's how I'm going to continue believing that, is that I don't care. Just let's go win some football games. Mm-hmm. That's my kind of approach.
I think that's how so many teams have approached it I mean, in the entire existence of the NFL, is who can help me win football games.
And I do
that's
think
the most important thing.
I do think there's probably some racist owners out there.
I'm sure there are.
But there were definitely a lot more racist owners before, like, I don't want to say they died off, but I do think that you're getting more.
And if those racist owners don't hire the best person for the job, then they'll suffer
Then they'll
for
lose.
it.
Yeah, they'll lose. What's next?
D. Smith texts in and says, no one cares. Happened 6 years ago. Get over it. The Titans hired the guy that they wanted. If they want to blame someone else, blame the NFL and the rules that they have in place.
So here's my problem with blaming the NFL for their rules. What is the solution? Like, what is the alternative? What is the way to actually accomplish the goal without compromising the integrity of every coaching search? Because if we're sitting here saying, like, was the Titans coaching search in 2016 just an absolute sham job, and comparing that with if you were to tell teams, hey, you have to hire a black coach, like, that's way more of a sham coaching search than it is the other way around. You know what I mean? So, like, what's the answer here? You know, they try to encourage people to hire minority candidates with draft pick compensation. And I think there was some talk in 2020 about how they would give a first-round pick to teams that hired a minority coach or had their coach hired something like that. And everybody's like, first-round pick? And I was like a little both like, hey, you know, drastic measures equal drastic results, which is good. But I'll tell you, if I get a first-round pick for hiring a black coach, I mean, first-round picks are legit.
But, like, isn't that also kind of a problem?
Oh, it's definitely a problem. I mean, because, like, when you're incentivizing it that much.
I mean,
it's like, was he hired because he's a good coach, or was he hired because he's going to get you a first-round pick?
You're compromising the system.
But my whole point here is I don't know, like, what the solution is, and I'm not going to pretend like I have the answers. And that's what drives me bananas is, like, Joe. I was ripping Joe over his column because, honestly, I felt like Joe wrote it based out of his own ideological beliefs and not, you know, like, in search of the truth regarding the Titans. As I told him yesterday, I felt like his column was more based in ideology than it was based in reality. And he got really mad at me when I said that.
Of course he did.
But I really believe that.
But I also think it's incredibly harmful to accuse a person and organization of something without really knowing the entire truth.
Right. Or to say, like, you know, I'm like, so what are they supposed to do? They knew who they wanted to hire. What's the problem with that? Well, don't you think they should do better? What the hell does that mean? I don't know.
I mean, if the Titans would have hired,
I don't know the answer to any of this.
A minority head coach in 2016, would the Titans have been better or would they have been worse? We don't know. It depends on what kind of coach that person is and not the color of their skin. And is there a lack of black head coaches in the league? Yes. In a league that is predominantly made up of black men, yes, there is a lack of black head coaches in the league. But without compromising the system, and if you're going to put rules into place, people will follow the rules however they see fit. If that means that there's a box that you have to check, okay, then fine. If you have a problem with the fact that it's just a box to check, then we got a problem with the rule.
Ian, can I have my master's music, please? Because I do want to update the people on something that is very important to me. And I also wish that these other golfers that are playing with Tiger would hurry it up, because I'm not interested in watching this guy, you know, dilly-dally as waiting for Tiger to shoot. Tiger right now is on 12. Through 11 today, he's +3. He's +2 for the tournament. And it will be very close as far as the cut is concerned. But we wait for Tiger because we ride or die with Tiger Woods. And by ride or die with Tiger Woods, I mean that we will not watch the rest of the Masters if and when Tiger does not make the cut. Because we do not care. We do not care. The Masters. A tradition unlike any other. Coming up next, Mike Vrabel had some interesting comments on A.J. Brown. Not that I was surprised by what he said, but is he in a position to say them? I'll explain that next. Love TriStar Moving. They're the presenting sponsor of this show. They're my guys. I've been telling you about TriStar for forever. They are 100%, hands down, the best moving company in Middle Tennessee. And it's all right. If you don't believe me, go check out their hundreds of 5-star reviews on Google that back up that opinion. You know why they get so many 5-star reviews? Because of the service they provide throughout the entire process. Starting with the estimate, where their professionals come out and give you a quote, the administrative staff that works with you every step of the way that will prepare you for the move all the way to the day of the big move. I have sent tons of people on their way, and some people call me back to say thank you for telling them about TriStar Moving. Garrett, Robert, the owners of TriStar Moving, are Nashville through and through, and all they want is the opportunity to help you out. If you're considering a move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. 615-640-1219 or visit their website at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get your personal discount on me, 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Down, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Now through April 14th, join a clean and spacious Planet Fitness for $1 down and only $10 a month. With tons of equipment and free fitness training, it's the perfect place for everybody to work out.
Even me, Mr. I can't sleep at night, so I keep dozing off during the day.
Especially you, Snoozy. You'll rest easier and feel fit-tacular.
Wait, how did you get in here?
Join in club or at planetfitness.com. $1 down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Hurry, deal ends April 14th. See club for details.
How can a half-carat diamond magically grow into a 2-carat diamond? With Genesis Diamond's 110% diamond upgrade guarantee.
Our trade-up policy is the best in the United States.
That's Stasia at Genesis, explaining how if you buy a diamond today and want to trade it in for a bigger one next year, Genesis always gives you back your original purchase price plus an extra 10%.
We will gladly give you every single penny you paid for the diamond plus an extra 10%, which is amazing. No one does that.
As a real-life example, take Stasia's customer Paul.
When he first started, he got a half carat, and then as he became more successful, we rewarded him. He came in and he got a 3/4 carat, and then he's traded for a carat. I'm sure I'll see him this year for a carat and a half. As they grow and change and become more successful, their engagement ring can grow with them also.
And there's no catch, no minimum trade-up requirement, and it works on diamond studs and diamond pendants as well.
You get every single investment dollar you put into the diamond, you will get an extra 10% towards the new diamond.
Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You can trade as many times as you wish.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as your Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins this Sunday. Puck drops at 3 p.m., but the party, that starts at 2:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at headquarters, Beercade, downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Good morning!
Morning! Robbie and Rex Road mornings from 6 to 10.
It's not bad. Might have to work on that. Not bad. It's a starting point.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
a Cromwell media station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the losses of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. Everybody with the Tennessee Titans has spent the last handful of weeks saying to anyone who will listen that A.J. Brown is not on the trading block. In fact, we already know Mike Vrabel thinks this because Diana Rossini reported earlier in the week that the Titans are not shopping A.J. Brown and that they're not even taking calls on A.J. Brown, Diana would say. And if it comes from Diana, we believe that it probably comes from Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was on the Rich Eisen show. Apparently, Vrabel decided to do a media tour yesterday. He went on Pat McAfee, and he went on Rich Eisen. And
a whole car wash.
Whatever. But it isn't what he said about AJ that piqued my interest. It's how he said it about AJ. Now, it's crazy because I didn't think that I'd be looking through the 2016 introductory press conference of John Robinson with a fine-tooth comb like I have been, because there was one moment in the press conference where they were asked who would have final say over the 53-man roster. And John Robinson turned and said, Steve, and Steve Underwood, the president of the team, said that John Robinson would have the final say over the 53-man roster. And it kind of feels like that's what we all assume now, right?
Yes.
It does feel like the most important person in the organization is Robinson, right?
He's the general manager.
Ian?
Kind of so. Yeah, feels that way.
Okay. Now, who do you think's been doing a better job? Vrabel or Robinson?
Vrabel.
I think most people would tell you Vrabel. And that's what they would tell you. Not what I think, but that's what they. So Vrabel was on the Rich Eisen show. He was asked about A.J. Brown. And I thought his answer led me to more questions about that than it did about A.J. Here's what Vrabel said.
Is A.J. Brown on the trade block? Mike Vrabel?
As long as I'm the head coach. I love A.J. professionally, personally. I've gotten to know him well as his coach and enjoy seeing him as much as I possibly can. So, saw him here working out here earlier. Said hi. So, as long as I'm the coach here, I would want to have A.J. Brown on my football team.
Okay, the first thing, not as long as I'm head coach. Well, I interpret that, and maybe Vrabel was just saying it, but I interpret that as to some level of authority, right?
Yes.
Is
I don't know.
A.J. Brown on the trade market? Well, that's not Mike Vrabel's job. At least that's not what I think Mike Vrabel's job is. But we see this in football organizations all the time, which is picking the players is not the coach's job, and then all of a sudden the coach decides to make it his job. Sometimes the quarterback decides to make it his job to help pick the players. And so when Mike Vrabel says, is A.J. Brown on the trade block? And Mike Vrabel immediately goes, now, as long as I'm the head coach, there's an element to that, and almost in a rhetorical sense that is, if you get rid of A.J., you can get rid of A.J. Brown if you're in charge of getting rid of A.J. Brown. But if you're getting rid of A.J. Brown, you're getting rid of me too.
I don't think that's what he meant, though.
But it reminds me of when John Curry was the athletic director at Tennessee. And he went out to try to hire Greg Schiano, and the fans revolted, and Beverly Davenport, who was the chancellor at the time, took it away. And I remember Floyd saying that if he was the athletic director at Tennessee and he wanted to hire a football coach, and they said no after he had already agreed to a deal with the coach, that he would say, well, then you're going to have to fire me too. Because when you make me AD, you put me in charge of deciding who the football coach is. I have a buddy who's an athletic director who just hired a basketball coach at Louisville. And he and I were talking, and this was, months ago. There was a candidate rumored for the job. And I think this candidate was using that rumored for the Louisville job in order to get a contract where they currently were. And I was on the phone with him, and I said, so the rumors are saying you're going to hire this guy. And I said, the rumors are saying that so-and-so is going to be the next Louisville basketball coach. And he said, not as long as I'm the AD. And
well, he has jurisdiction over that.
Well, that's my question. Because at the end of the day, there's only one person whose opinion really matters. And it ain't Mike's, and it ain't John's. And you never know how the power, gets shifted in the middle of an administration. So with these two guys, it feels to me like John Robinson has the final authority of the football team in a story. But then when Mike Vrabel makes that kind of smart-ass comment about, not as long as I'm the coach, I think to myself, and then kind of doubled back on it, where
walks it back.
As long as I'm head coach, I'd want a player like this. I'm thinking to myself, how much yank does Vrabel have in this organization? I mean, I would ask you this question, which is, let's say that they're at the draft board, and you only get 15 minutes. And they're sitting there, and John Robinson really likes a player. and Mike Vrabel really likes another player, and Mike Vrabel says to John Robinson, we have to draft this guy, does John Robinson feel comfortable in looking at Vrabel and saying, no? And I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, that is in his job description that he has the right to say, to veto whatever Mike Vrabel says.
That's what we think, but we don't know that.
At least I believe
But
as a general
has that
manager.
changed?
Maybe.
Has that changed? Because, again, remember, Vrabel came in here and was definitely subservient to Robinson. You know, Robinson was number one. Vrabel was very clearly number two. But then the 2019 run happened, and I still think Robinson was number one and Vrabel was number two. But then after that, the Isaiah Wilson pick, the Julio Jones trade. Now, I firmly believe that the Clowney signing was a Vrabel thing, not a Robinson thing, and I think that Robinson was probably upset at himself for listening to Vrabel so much when Clowney fell right back into the pit holes that didn't get Clowney a big-time contract to begin with. But a lot, Vic Beasley, a lot of money was spent on guys that haven't been very good. And a lot of, a first-round pick on Isaiah Wilson, a second-round pick on Julio Jones. Darrington Evans was a third-round pick. He's already been shipped out of town. And owners do have internal scoreboards. And so I've got on one hand right here the coach of the year. And on the other hand, I've got John Robinson, who in his 6 years as general manager has had 6 winning seasons. But there have been a lot of screw-ups lately in the personnel side of things that are very disconcerting. And you do wonder if that pendulum swings at all from one way or another between coach and general manager. I'll tell you, in the 2020 season, I was not convinced that Robinson and Vrabel were seeing eye to eye. And I thought it was pretty evident over Shane Bowen that Robinson and Vrabel were not seeing eye to eye. The defense was an unmitigated disaster in 2020. And what did Vrabel do? He doubled down on Bowen by promoting him to defensive coordinator. It would be one thing if Bowen was already the defensive coordinator and they didn't just fire him. That's like, hey, I'm sticking with Shane. Shane's been here. But he wasn't technically the defensive coordinator. He promoted him to defensive coordinator, almost as like a message to everybody that it ain't the scheme, it ain't the coaching, it's the players. And then when Robinson was asked about why would you keep Shane Bowen, Robinson was very much to me, to us, in the media, like, continuity. I mean, he was so backhanded in the way he went about it. And when those two guys were first together, I mean, they were chummy I And now I didn't go to the Combine this year, which would have been the last chance for me to see this. But they did not, I don't believe that it's the same as it was. And I think in football, you always have to be on the lookout of who's going to try to sack your back. And coaches and general managers get into it all the time. I mean, even think about Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells hated Robert Kraft. Left the Patriots after they went to the Super Bowl, goes to the Jets. Bill Belichick's the defensive coordinator of the Jets. Bill Belichick signs a contract that if Parcells were to resign, it automatically elevates Belichick to head coach, which I think anybody would want to put in their contract, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if that guy leaves, I'm in, Well, when Robert Kraft fired Pete Carroll 2 years later, and they sent the fax request to the Jets with the request to interview Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells was so mad that he went and resigned, which automatically made Belichick the coach, as almost like a screw you to Belichick. And then Belichick had to write on a napkin that he resigned as, it was like, I hereby resign my position as HC of NYJ, on a napkin, and turned it in, Bill Belichick. And that's because Bill wanted to go to the Patriots. He didn't want to work for the owners of the Jets. And it's almost like those two guys that were so close and worked together for all those years that Parcells was screwing Belichick because he didn't want him to go to the Patriots, and that Belichick screwed the Jets because he didn't want to work for him. And that's why that tension exists. And I'm telling you, in football, it is a dog-eat-dog world in that regard. And everybody who's at the top in football always thinks they can do the other guy's job better. The people in Nashville, and I think I was a junior in high school when this happened, we got all bamboozled that Jeff Fisher could run the Titans. And they let Floyd go, and that was the single biggest mistake that had probably happened in the history of the franchise. And so I'm looking at this, and I hear Vrabel's words. And I feel personally like, even though the A.J. Brown stuff, the Titans have been denying for forever, the A.J. Brown stuff about the idea of trading him, for Vrabel to be like, no, not as long as I'm the head coach. There was like a little bit of arrogance where I hear this and I'm like, that ain't your job, dude. And let's not forget the Diana Rossini clip a couple weeks ago that we played that kind of made us believe that Mike Vrabel was her source when it was, the roster that he's had to deal with.
She wasn't wrong.
That was pretty telling. And so I'm just saying, that answer from Vrabel, I wondered this in 2020, if there was a power struggle going on. Vrabel wins Coach of the Year. Robinson gets nothing out of his draft class. That's not a sign in the direction of John Robinson. And I do wonder, just like John Robinson sacked Mike Mularkey, you do wonder if Mike Vrabel, just like Jeff Fisher sacked Floyd, just like we've seen time and time again, Andy Reid sacked John Dorsey, Bill Belichick sacked Johnny Greer. Just as we've seen this, I wonder if this may be the direction that we may be headed in. 615. Bill O'Brien sacked everybody. 615-737-1025 and then got sacked. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company will get your thoughts on that. Add it to the table. Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. Let me tell all the fine folks out there that stop by Social Furniture at 5412 Charlotte Avenue in Nashville now to enter for a chance to win a bear ticket. See the Predators take on the Chicago Blackhawks at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 16th. Also, don't forget to check out their new sofas while you're there. Must be 18 to enter the contest. No purchase is necessary.
Tune in every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Nashville's own Jason Fitz with Jarrett Stillman and Company. Fitz started his sports talk career right here on 102.5 The Game, and now he anchors shows for ESPN. Jason Fitz is brought to you by Blood Assurance. Give blood, give local, give life.
Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance yours, Rocket Mortgage can help you get there. For home loan solutions that fit your life, Rocket can.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Cobra, featuring the new LTDX drivers, engineered for the longest total distance with extreme forgiveness. Internal weights create the power core, and hot face technology delivers faster ball speeds at every contact point. 4 drivers to fit every golfer's needs. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's debt consolidation home refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi, and even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the 3s? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick, and Chase. I started my radio career as an intern right here at ESPN 1025 The Game. Now we're looking for our next great batch of interns. You think that's you? Send your resume to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply today.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Derrick Henry still plays in Tennessee, and they were the #1 team in the AFC without him when he was playing.
That's true.
How do you miss the Tennessee Titans in here?
Have you seen Ryan Tannehill, who now is going to have
consistency? Has Mike Vrabel had a losing season yet? No.
I think what we've learned
Has he figured out how to make that team really good when their roster isn't even that exceptional?
They got Ryan Tannehill, and they doubled down on him.
They have Ryan Tannehill, and they still go as far as they do.
Now they have Matty Ice.
That was Diana Rossini a couple weeks ago on ESPN, just crapping on the Titans roster and crapping on Tannehill. And if you are the plugged-in insider that covers the Tennessee Titans and you're crapping on the roster created, we believe, by John Robinson and the quarterback and pumping up the head coach, you have to believe that the sourcing that she has is coming from the head coach.
And also pretty safe if she feels, so confident,
so brazen
to rip on the roster. But I do wonder how much of that is ripping on the roster because there were so many players that were hurt and they were just picking up scraps off the junkyard.
What it sounded like to me.
I don't know. I think that
I sent it to you when you were on vacation and you were like, "Oh my God, her source is Vrabel."
Oh well, yes. Her source is very obviously Vrabel, but I'm saying in terms of the roster. I mean, yeah, like all of their good players were hurt.
No, I think the roster was like, I think there's a belief.
John Robinson?
Well, let me just say, I've heard, Vrabel did not say this to me, but he has said it to others.
Diana Rossini?
Well, I'm assuming that basically I think Vrabel thinks that he has overperformed the roster over his entire tenure of Titans coaching. Just from what I have heard, not anything that Vrabel has said to me.
I would say for sure last season.
I mean, was it?
Did
you see that defensive line?
Yeah, the defensive line was pretty badass.
I mean, the coaching wasn't why the defense was better last year. I hope everybody understands that. Coaching is not why the Titans defense was better last year. The Titans defense is better last year because they had Danico Autry, and then for a lot of the season they had Bud Dupree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why the defense was better. Like, there wasn't any great coaching that won them the San Francisco game. It was throw the ball to AJ on every play. And that was good. And Jimmy threw the ball right to the Titans. But, I mean, like, I think Vrabel's a good motivator. I find it very odd that Vrabel motivates when, like, the team's back is against the wall and no one believes in him, and that Vrabel, for the life of him, cannot win games as a big-time favorite. But, I mean, like, I think Vrabel's a good coach, but I don't think that, I don't think the Titans are a successful organization because of Mike Vrabel. And I do think that you have to give Robinson
that Mike
credit.
Vrabel hurts the organization.
No, but you have to give Robinson credit that he had 2 winning seasons, taking over the worst team in football with a coach he didn't even like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you got to give Robinson his due there.
That's Vrabel aside.
But Vrabel's not thinking about that. Like Vrabel's thinking about, when I got here, this team was. And so I'll just say, again, that I have heard a very similar sentiment about the roster from Vrabel. Not that I've heard it from Vrabel, but I've heard that Vrabel has, whatever. And then when Diana Rossini says it as brazenly as she did on TV.
She really,
this roster.
She was not holding anything back there.
It felt like a rocket shot.
Tell us how you feel, Diana.
And then to hear the, not as long as I'm head coach, talking to Rich Eisen, I mean, it tracks. That's all I'm saying. Let's go to
I don't know how much of that was, I'm in charge of things.
You think Vrabel and Robinson see eye to eye?
No. No, I do not. Don't be silly. No. But I do wonder about that response because he did walk it back a good bit, but I don't know how much of that was.
So you don't think I'm wrong for thinking what I'm thinking, but you think that it's wrong to use this as the reason to think it.
Correct.
Interesting. What do we have on our phone? 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Matt in Gallatin texts in and says, calm down, Jared Stillman. You're creating smoke with no fire.
I'll just say this. I had somebody else who covers the Titans very, very thoroughly that sent me a text, and said that I agree with you. I do not see Vrabel and Robinson together at all anymore.
Interesting.
I mean, they were
Did they
boys.
used to be bestie pops?
Oh, Ian, besties.
I mean, you don't feel like it's as bestie as it used to be?
I do not feel like it's as bestie as it used to be.
Interesting. Okay. I haven't.
Now, they also
I
don't have
haven't
anything to
picked,
sell to anybody anymore. Like, they're,
I haven't
like
picked
they're-
up that vibe, but I don't know. Because, I mean.
See, I wasn't at the combine, so that would be.
That is true. And
you know.
I do wonder at what point because I feel like friction is going to be inevitable whenever you work with someone that closely,
Sure.
especially in this business. But are the Titans at that point where, like, there's probably a very fine line between, just natural friction and friction that causes serious problems within an organization?
I wonder too, like, if you're Robinson, you stuck your neck out for Vrabel so far, like, to get that job because the Texans' defense was horrible, and Malarkey had just won a playoff game that that if you screwed that up, you're getting fired. Like, there's no way around it. And because Amy liked Mike Malarkey, so like you took a lot of risk taking on Vrabel, and now they've been together for a while. I'm sure there probably is some friction there, but is Robinson in a place to where he could fire Vrabel?
How can you? How can you justify that? He's the reigning coach of the year.
He fired Malarkey,
AFC, but that wasn't his guy.
I know, but again, there was no real justification for firing Malarkey other than the fact that Robinson didn't like him.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, does he have justification to fire Vrabel? Like, yeah, I guess he does, but also, like, how do you justify that?
Well, if my
He's
head
the coach of the year last year.
If my coach is a total a-hole to me, then I will fire him. You know what I mean?
But also, like, at what point is that bad business? Oh, you don't get along?
Was it fair to
wins
think?
games.
Was it fair to think that the Titans hit their ceiling with Malarkey as head coach?
I do not think that was fair to think, but that's, for somebody, that was for them to decide and not me. I mean, I thought, look, they won a playoff game for the first time in 13 years. They had Mariota at quarterback who was banged up. I don't know, put Tannehill at quarterback for Malarkey and see what happens. Like, DeMarco Murray got hurt at the end of that season. Like, those things I factored in. Nobody else did, but I did. Everybody else was like, get him out of town. I did not feel that way. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, I wonder how Adam Strunk would feel about this relationship. As an owner, would you lean more toward the general manager or the coach?
This is where you got to know who does what.
Yeah.
This is where you really...
That's a really hard situation.
You really... So, I am reading... I finished the Seth Wickersham book about Brady and Belichick. Mm-hmm. And it's really about Brady, Belichick, and Kraft. And I do think Kraft was a part of this book. And when you hear Robert Kraft come out and say, we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. Our drafting has been horrible. The 4 years before our last draft, and we got a draft butter. And you're like, man, that's a rocket shot at Belichick. And it's like, is Kraft putting Belichick on notice? And should Kraft put Belichick on notice? And somebody who's in the league told me, he'll never fire Bill. And I'm reading this book. And I think, like, deep down inside, Kraft did not want to move on from Brady. He wanted to acquiesce to Brady's wishes of the contract. He wanted to put Alex Guerrero in the facility. He wanted to make Tom Brady happy. He wanted to treat Tom Brady like the star. But because he had sided with Belichick on Bledsoe over Brady, he felt like he had to back his coach in the end. And I think Kraft holds a humongous level of resentment towards Belichick after Brady went and won a Super Bowl and had a good season in Tampa Bay. And I don't think that it's an apples-to-apples comparison, as easy as it would be to say Brady went and won the Super Bowl and the Patriots haven't been very good. Like, there's a lot of different factors that are at play for this. But I do think that it definitely, Brady's had a glow-up since he left New England, and New England has been relatively average. And I think that bothers Robert Kraft. That's where you have to kind of, like, see it every day. And then you have to make your own opinions. You have to know, like, who's responsible for what. And I've talked about this all the time with Floyd. You guys remember the fact that he never wanted credit, right? Like, anytime that we talk about how great of a general manager he is, or should he be in the Titans Ring of Honor or anything like that, he'd turn off. He wouldn't want to talk about it. He wouldn't do that, whatever. And I think that ultimately, as crazy as this sounds, his desire to not be selfish, his desire to not make it about him, ultimately hurt the franchise. Because had he let it be known that Jeff Fisher had no part getting Eddie George or Steve McNair, Javon Curse, or all these players, if he had really, truly let it be known, as Jeff Fisher was firing rocket shots off at him, if he had let everybody know out there that, like, yeah, I mean, Jeff's an average coach, but, you know, he doesn't do anything with personnel. Like, the reason we're good is because of our personnel. We're drafting Derek Mason in the 4th round. Then maybe it would have played out differently in this power struggle. Or if he would have been open to the fact that Jeff was trying to sack him, that he could have turned around, fired Jeff, and went out and got Nick Saban to be the coach. And, like, I say this like it's crazy, right? Like, he so didn't want it to be about him. But it hurt the team. Because he didn't brag about his own accomplishments. And I say this as that, like, this is where you have to trust that the people who are supposed to know, whose opinions matter, do know. And sometimes they don't. And sometimes they screw up. And I don't know. Like, was Mike Vrabel the one that was banging on the table for Danico Autry in free agency last year? I don't know. Is Mike Vrabel the one who just sold everybody that Clowney was going to be a difference maker? I don't know.
Probably.
I mean, who was what did they think about Isaiah Wilson? What did Vrabel think about him after meeting him? Like, I don't know. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. So we got 2 columns. I felt, this is me, 2 columns about the Titans. And it feels like locally, people want to throw the Titans under the bus. I got a little bit of a problem with that. We'll get to that coming up next. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There is no better way to ignite the night, ignite your weekend than with ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. It's been a long work week. It's been a long week. So wind down with some Fireball with your buddies. Enjoy ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Ignite the night. Please do responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi, and this is Nashville.
Going to the front of the net, he scores. What a gorgeous move. Roman Yossi.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The racing, the big one, the camping. It's all just bigger at Talladega. And with a doubleheader on Saturday and the premiere of the next-gen cars on Sunday, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. NASCAR's biggest and baddest track is back. The Talladega NASCAR Weekend, April 23rd through the 24th. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Has she seen an engagement ring she really loves? A unique look from a top-notch designer? You won't find it at just any store, but you will at Genesis Diamonds.
At Genesis Diamonds, we work with the most sought-after designers in this country. We are proud to feature lines like Tacori, Verragio, Kirk Cara, Henry Dawsey, A. Jaffe, Jeff Cooper, Gabriel, and many more.
Since other jewelers can't get these designers, David says beware of knockoffs.
Often stores will result to copying or knocking off a designer ring just to compete with Genesis. And oftentimes, you will actually pay the same, if not more, for that fake.
Why risk it? Genesis has the real deal. Unique, handcrafted, cutting-edge designs and award-winning craftsmanship.
So not only will you get the exact product you wish with the brand you trust, but at a price that you can afford.
Get her the ring of her dreams at Genesis Diamonds.
Every girl wants a designer ring. They don't want Joe in the back room to make a copy. They want the real thing.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, listen, we all have cavities, but what's the best way to try and keep them from happening?
Cavities are like any other health condition. You don't really know you have one until it gets bad. Recently, I saw a patient for treatment that they had been putting off. Something that could have been simple to fix 6 months ago turned out to need a root canal and a crown. Postponing treatment costs more and takes time away from work.
Nobody wants a root canal, so you're right. Regular checkups are very important.
Well, we do things differently. I want to let people know that if they're afraid of pain or worried about the cost, they are not alone. Don't be embarrassed. We understand. Give us a call at 615-373-4488. That's KellyERice.com.
Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. If you don't have dental insurance, no problem. Be sure to join their membership club. Just visit KellyERice.com or call 615-373-4488 now to schedule your cleaning and checkup. You'll certainly be glad you did.
Hit City is back. Play ball.
And that is gone. John Singleton has homered for the second night in a row.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series against the Durham Bulls.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Coverage starts at 6:20 on your home for Nashville Sounds Baseball. ESPN 94.9 in the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let me ask you this. You all have caught a lot of flack, as you know, about the Mike Mularkey hiring. I want you to talk a little bit about it, but I guess what I want to know is, was it his job to lose at the end of the season? Was he going to have to bomb an interview, or was it more open than that?
I think it was more open than that. Now, Amy had developed a business relationship with Mike and would talk to him after every game. They stayed in communication during the week. And I think Amy did develop a comfort level with Mike during the season. But she had not made her mind up until all the interviews were complete. In fact, we sat around in a room after Ray Horton was interviewed and discussed the interviews for several hours before she made a final decision. But she had gotten to know Mike. I think she believed that Mike had done a really good job under adverse circumstances.
There you go. That was Steve Underwood in January of 2016. And that would read exactly like what the Titans said happened. Again, I went all the way back to 2016. Was it an open search or was it Mularkey's the whole time? Steve Underwood? Nope, it was an open search. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I believe, but that's what they said. We went back, looked it up. That's what we found. Joe Rexrode wrote a column about the Titans in this that really, I hate to say this, and I like Joe, and I will say this. I took my complaints right to the source. Like, I went right to Joe yesterday when I read this column, and I was like, Joe, I'll just read it to you. Rexrode, : the Titans made the Brian Flores lawsuit, and for that, they should be ashamed. Mike Mularkey is just bitter. The Rooney Rule is flawed. Everyone does this. Save it all, Joe writes. And if you want to start making lists, here's one. The NFL franchises that have never hired a person of color as head coach or general manager. Tennessee Titans, New England Patriots, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, LA Rams, New Orleans Saints. The Titans get to head that short yet way too long for 2022 list today because they have been added as defendants to former Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores' lawsuit against the NFL that alleges racial discrimination in the league's hiring practices. The Cardinals and Texans were added Thursday as well, increasing the group to 6. The Dolphins, Broncos, and Giants are the other 3. So congratulations, Joe writes, to the Titans for being the only franchise on both lists. Joe continues, this should be embarrassing. It needs to be embarrassing regardless of how the lawsuit unfolds because the NFL owners sure aren't going to experience a diverse hire awakening by being called out collectively. That's been clear for decades. So as I read through this, I texted Joe. And it kind of goes back with, what Mularkey said at the time. And Joe didn't cover the team then, which he acknowledges in the piece. The thing that bothers me is it almost feels like I just have the question of what are the Titans supposed to do? And I feel like Joe, as I told him and then told him I was going to say on the radio, I feel like this comes from Joe's beliefs more than it comes from what actually happened or what the reality was. Here's the reality from how I saw it, sitting in a front row seat covering this team, where I was young enough to be able to remember everything that happened and so on and so forth. The Titans liked Mularkey. They were going to hire Mularkey. They wanted to hire Mularkey. He was their interim coach. They thought that he could do a good job, and they did. And at the end of the day, I don't know what the Titans should be sorry for. Did the Titans follow the rules? Yeah, they followed the rules. Did the Titans follow the rules in the grandest spirit of the rules? No, they didn't follow the rules in the grandest spirit of those rules. But does anybody, in all seriousness, does anybody, when they open up a coaching search, Does anybody go into it with no preconceived notions, with no idea of this is who I'd like? I mean, again, sometimes you can have an open mind. Sometimes your mind can be more open than other people. I just know this. Like, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a preconceived notion about what they were going to do, and they did it. And nobody's upset about that. Now, again, they didn't have to interview anybody else because they hired a minority candidate. But I feel like the finger wagging at the Titans, and Gentry Estes has a column that does a lot of finger wagging at the Titans too, where he goes back to what Paul Kaharski wrote at the time, or what John Glennon wrote in the Tennessean at the time, as almost examples of everybody in the world knew they were going to give Malarkey the job, and it was all a sham interview process. And again, the finger wagging at the Titans. And all I have to ask is, did the Titans break any rules? No. Are the Titans not allowed to want to name their interim head coach the head coach? Isn't that what that's for? Like, you get the opportunity to basically interview for the job. You get to audition for the job.
It's not in every case. Like Rich Bisaccia, for example, interim head coach. I don't even think he was in consideration for a head coach.
But they already had their mind made up before they won.
Yes.
I mean, they had their mind made up in with the Raiders. Like, we're not hiring this guy. I mean, they could have won that Bengals game and they still would have fired him.
But after his interim tenure, I would have maybe relooked that.
I mean,
if I were the Las Vegas Raiders.
Everybody knows who they want to hire. I mean, think about how these owners, think about how you do it. Like, if you were to own a team, you know how many of these owners, like, watch the games on television and are like, oh, I'd love to have that coordinator. Like, I cannot tell you how often that happens. Matt LaFleur was horrendous as the offensive coordinator of the Titans. I mean, just freaking stunk. He was worse than Downing. I mean, this is a guy who, for the majority of his tenure as offensive coordinator of the Titans, chose to use Dion Lewis over Derrick Henry. I want you to think about that. Did not have an open mind. You want to know how Derrick got the starting job? Because Derrick took the ball 99 yards against Jacksonville for a touchdown, finished that game with 238 yards, and then the next week, after everybody and their grandma was like, probably a good idea to give Derrick Henry the ball, ran for 170 yards against the Giants. And at that point, Derrick Henry was the best running back in the league. And they probably didn't make the playoffs that year because they spent too much time screwing around with David Fluellen on the depth chart. And Matt LaFleur was the head coach of the Green Bay freaking Packers. He was terrible as offensive coordinator of the Titans. Mariota regressed with him as the coach. And he got the head coaching job of the Green Bay Packers. Why? Because he came from the Rams tree. And as long as guys that come from the Rams tree keep winning, like LaFleur and Zach Taylor, more guys like Kevin O'Connell are going to get hired. That's just the reality of it. When Bill Belichick won all his games in New England all those years, he had two older, experienced coordinators, Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel. Charlie Weiss was white. Romeo Crennel was black. Romeo Crennel got an NFL head coaching job. He got another NFL head coaching job. And he got another NFL head coaching job. Because everybody wanted what was in the Patriots' secret sauce. Everybody wants to be the Patriots. Now, they don't want to as much anymore, but everybody wants to be the Patriots. And so I get this idea. Like, I find Joe's finger wagging to be more so like based on his ideology of how he feels about the NFL than it is about what the Titans did or didn't do. Did the Titans follow the rules? Yes. Did the Titans end up with a good coach? Yes. Did the Titans do the same thing a couple years later? Yes. And they ended up with the coach of the year, and they made the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. So I hear it, but maybe it's a bad thing to waste people's times with sham interviews as, you know, Joe was – that was the thing I kept saying to him, like, what do you want the Titans to do? And he said to me, he's like, you know, the Titans need to do better. Don't you want them to do better? I was like, I mean, at coach? Like, I think they're good at coach. Well, what do you mean by do better? Like, what, do you want me to sit there and say, like, hey, I watched this guy be the interim coach, and I'm convinced he can be the head coach of my football team. And then it's like, well, you can't name him the head coach because you have to interview other people. Okay. So what, am I supposed to sit there and every thought that I have in my head that I'm really attracted to this person to be my head coach, I'm supposed to be like, put my hands over my ear, la, 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 I don't hear that. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Well, and there's one excerpt that you read in Joe's column that said, regardless of how the lawsuit pans out or how the situation pans out, the Titans should still do better. The Titans should still be ashamed, whatever the verbiage is. What?
Like, what are they supposed to be ashamed of?
What is I don't but like, no matter.
Should the Predators be ashamed? Because they fired Peter Laviolette at 5 o'clock on a Monday. And John Hines was the head coach at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. So should we be ashamed at the Predators? I mean, they probably, and I don't know this, but I'm assuming because of how quick that all happened, they probably didn't interview a minority candidate. They didn't interview any other candidates, but they didn't have to because the league rules don't tell them they have to. So, like, I don't, this is so ridiculous. Like, the finger wagging at the Titans. And I'm not, like, I want people to know this. I'm not on the Titans' side of that they didn't go into this thinking that Mularkey was going to be their coach. I don't believe that, even though Underwood said it. I don't really, in theory, believe it. But I'm not upset about it. And so what? They wasted Terrell Austin's time. So did 4 other people. That's the rule. Like, you have to do this. And so.
But I think that Joe's problem is more so with the overall issue and not necessarily the Titans now.
Doesn't that go back to it being more about the ideology than it is about the reality?
Yes.
That's my problem. 615-737-1025. And I'm not talking behind Joe's back because Joe and I had the same conversation. And Joe's responses, I thought, proved my point more than he understands. But that's neither here nor there. 615-737-1025. There's one element of this that I cannot get over. I cannot get over it, and no one's brought it up except for us, that it's just like, it's wow. I don't even know how to dissect it. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We'll give away tickets to Seltzerland coming up later today here on the program on this just fantastic Fireball Hot Take Friday. Go to theGameNashville.com/deals to get Nashville's best deals. Right now, there are deals including half off for the Woodhouse Spa, the Mainstay Restaurant, Brooklyn Bowl. Plus, experience a 60-minute float session at Float Horizon for just $39.50. Check out all of Nashville's best deals now at theGameNashville.com/deals.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. Showers ending going into tonight. Cooling down significantly, middle 30s for low temperatures. The chance for some patchy frost as you wake up on your Saturday. Mostly sunny for the rest of the day, and high temperatures will be in the middle 50s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Tired of mosquitoes ruining your summer? Stop the bite. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com and check out your special offer. Take back your summer. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high-quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands, including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Cutting the price of your wireless bill feels good, really good. Actually, it feels great. You should try it out. So cut your bill by switching to Straight Talk Wireless, now offering our $45 Silver Unlimited plan with 5 gigabytes of hotspot and nationwide 5G on America's largest, most dependable networks. The $45 Silver Unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
A month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
Inside knowledge on the Titans.
Todd Downey's got his notepad out right now, just writing things down.
Inside knowledge on the Predators.
They can go right into the forecheck, and boom, you get a beautiful goal from Colton Sissons.
And then there's a team in Knoxville.
How excited should Tennessee fans be by what they've seen from Josh Heupel in year one?
Wake up and hang out with Robbie and Rex Road. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and The Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
A shout out to Tiger Woods, who just sunk about a 10-foot putt, I believe on 14, maybe it was 15. He just sunk a 10-foot putt. I mean, just beautiful, right into the cup. He has birdied back-to-back holes. He is now +1 for the tournament. It was 13 and 14. He's birdied them both. And there is a level of excitement for me with this because Tiger's starting to heat up a little bit. The projected cut line is what, +6?
Yes, that's projected.
+6, Tiger's +1 for the tournament. I think he's going to make the cut. So if he can just not crap all over himself the rest of the way, back-to-back birdies for Tiger, that could basically save golf and their lack of interesting viewership, because the viewership for golf is terrible for the Masters. And if Tiger is in it, it will skyrocket. So Tiger, again, will be keeping. He's about to tee off from 15, which is a par 5, 550 yards. He's +1. We'll see how he hits off the drive. There's one thing about this Titans discrimination, Brian Flores lawsuit. And again, I'm not totally sure, like, what Brian Flores is trying to get out of the lawsuit. Like, I know what he says he's trying to get out of it. Like, he wants the advancement of black coaches.
Yeah.
But then you can't sue the Texans when they don't hire you, but they hire somebody else who's black. Like, I have a hard time with that. It almost makes it look like it's really more about you than it is about anything else. But Ray Horton has joined the lawsuit, suing the Titans, saying it was a sham interview, and they got the Mike Mularkey clip and everything else. Nobody's been talking about this. But there's an article on ESPN that was written by Paul Kaharski that basically was Ray Horton denies that it was a sham interview or that he felt mistreated or anything like that. This is what Paul Kaharski said about it on Outkick 360.
The Fritz Pollard Alliance, which really tracks minority hiring and minority opportunity, had told the Tennessean that Horton was uncomfortable with the process, felt insulted by the process. Ray Horton I didn't call Ray Horton. Ray Horton called me and gave me a very strong quote denying that. He said, "I'm not insulted. I was very happy Mrs. Strunk gave me an interview. I think she was very impressed with me. I was told some ideas I gave are going to be implemented. I'm still under contract. I'm talking about a contract extension. The insulted comment is not true. I'm very happy. I was very happy to be interviewed." Now, is that what Ray Horton felt at that time, or did Ray Horton feel like for career survival he couldn't be seen as being upset and he needed to smooth things over? I can't say for sure.
So that's what Paul said, that Ray Horton called him and told him. Now, here's what somebody told me that said, "I've been told the Tennessean column was 100% correct for the record. This has been common knowledge for years. Wolf had a story in the Tennessean that the Fritz Pollard Alliance was upset, and it was Horton that was telling them stuff and then denied it on the record." So we basically have that Ray Horton, off the record, said that he was embarrassed about the sham interview that he got in 2016. Then we have Ray Horton calling Paul Kaharski, going on the record and saying it wasn't a sham interview. Now we have Ray Horton suing the Titans, in 2022 saying it was a sham interview. Can I ask anybody out there something?
Sure.
Why am I supposed to believe Ray Horton? And I get it. You heard what Paul said right there about the whole idea of, maybe he was trying to save his own butt, so he went on the record and he told Paul that he wasn't upset about the interview process and he thought it was a good interview or whatever. That's fine. But again, if you get caught, he's had to be lying at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think some people are doing is they're taking the statement that affects their narrative and they're just dismissing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what else was he supposed to do? He was under contract, and no NFL team would like it if he threw the team that he was under contract with under the bus, and then what would that mean? And then so it doesn't matter that Ray Horton said that he called Paul Kaharski, and he said it to Paul Kaharski. It doesn't matter. Why not? If I'm trying to see if you're telling me the truth, is like, if you lied once, there's a chance you're probably going to lie again. There's a chance you're probably lying now. There's certainly a chance that you're not being 100% honest. The other thing I can't get over is that I find this to be so stupid because the Titans had already complied with the Rooney Rule. Mm-hmm. And so the Ray Horton thing, being involved in the Flores lawsuit, doesn't really seem to add up to me. And the more I have people that just dismiss this stuff as if it doesn't matter, like, oh, well, even though the Titans did have interviews with multiple minority candidates, even though the Titans did end up making the right decisions for the Titans each time, even though Ray Horton did call Paul Kaharski and tell Paul Kaharski that it wasn't a sham interview, none of that matters because that's not what I believe. And that bothers me.
Well, and I think I say whatever Ray Horton said to Paul Kaharski with the same sentiment of what we heard Steve Underwood say.
Sure.
Early in 2016 of what we've heard from anyone regarding this situation. Could they have been lying? Sure. They could have been lying. But I don't think that I have the jurisdiction to say, oh, don't listen to them. They're lying. Ray Horton just was saying that because he felt like he needed to say that.
I put all the information
Steve Underwood
on the
was
table.
just trying to save the Titans' ass. We can't listen to what he has to say. I mean, I can't say that they were lying or not. They said it. It's their responsibility for what they said.
You heard the phone conversation with Joe. You were a part of it.
Yeah.
We're on the phone with Joe
Joe
today.
said, oh, well, Steve Underwood, of course he had to say that. I don't disagree with Joe that, of course Steve Underwood had to say something like that, not to throw the Titans under the bus, but he still said it. So I don't know if he's lying or not. He could have been 100% truthful and meant every single word. It's not my job to say whether he was lying or not.
This is my sense of it. And I believe this. I find Ray Horton to be a complainer. When the defense wasn't very good his first year as coordinator, he complained and said it wasn't the scheme. He made a big deal about how it wasn't the scheme, which the players interpreted it as it was the players, not the scheme, and then he had to say that he would never throw players under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Then he complained about not getting an interview for the head coaching job that no one thought he was going to get. And then he complained about it. And so he got an interview. And now he's complaining 6 years later about the interview. Like Wilkes in Arizona, and the idea when you look back at his tenure, and I wasn't there, so I didn't live that on a daily basis. But Steve Wilkes in Arizona, to me, it tracks that I think he got a raw deal. Mm-hmm. That he got the head coaching job. They drafted Josh Rosen as the quarterback. They weren't very good. The general manager got suspended for half the season or whatever it was for a DUI, and then they fired him right away, and the quarterback that they gave him to be good, they got rid of, and they fired him, and they brought in a guy who just got fired in college. That tracks.
Yeah. That's not a good look.
The Horton stuff, to me, I mean, again, the guy went out of his way to call Paul Kaharski and tell Paul Kaharski that he was not unhappy with his interview, and now he is unhappy with his interview.
And that's another reason why this is kind of a difficult situation, because there are so many different situations all under the same umbrella that have completely different facts attached to it.
Sure. Chad Withrow joins us. Outkick 360. That's next. Let's give away something while I'm in a good mood. Seltzerland. That's right. Seltzerland. is on Saturday, April 30th at the Riverside Golf Links. Seltzerland is turning Nashville into a hard seltzer paradise on Saturday, April 30th at Riverside Golf Links. So enjoy this one-of-a-kind immersive experience as you spend the day tasting over 100 unique hard seltzers. Indulge in mouth-watering munchies, tons of seltzer swag, and bust out the gram for the most Insta-worthy moments. Seltzerland has rounded up the best hard seltzer brands in the land for one epic day dedicated to the bubbly brew everyone can't get enough of. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you're getting a 4-pack of tickets to enjoy Seltzerland. Enjoy on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Did you see the Tennessee Titans? He has all the weapons to make it happen.
There's so much to pay attention to. Greeny from 9 to 11.
Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected player.
Art and Han from 11 to 2.
You never stop punching. They've got to learn how to close the deal.
And the Paul Feinbaum Show afternoons from 2 to 6.
Are these legitimate contenders to the party?
Your exclusive home for ESPN Radio in the Music City.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Spring has sprung, which means it's time to renew your home with Social Furniture. It's their Spring Fling sale, where all furniture is up to 50% off. That's right, up to 50% off on top name brands such as Serta, Sealy, Simmons, Caracol, Bernhardt, and Woodhouse. At Social Furniture, you'll find new bedroom furniture, mattresses, and sofas, all up to 50% off. Spring into Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local, shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
BetOnline.net is your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, including this week's Masters Championships odds, podcasts, and reviews for all the different leagues this season. BetOnline.net is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline.net, where the game starts.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Now through April 14th, join a clean and spacious Planet Fitness for $1 down and only $10 a month. With tons of equipment and free fitness training, it's the perfect place for everybody to work out.
Even me, Mr. I can't sleep at night, so I keep dozing off during the day.
Especially you, Snoozy. You'll rest easier and feel fit-tacular.
Wait, how did you get in here?
Join in club or at planetfitness.com. $1 down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Hurry, deal ends April 14th. See club for details.
Spring into savings at Electronic Express. Get up to 40% off the latest 4K TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, and more. That's not all. Get huge savings in every department, like computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Shop locally owned and family operated at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick, and Chase. I started my radio career as an intern right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game. Now we're looking for our next great batch of interns. You think that's you? Send your resume to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply today.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Karen Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the offices of Amanda Gentry. Tiger on 15. And, no, stop rolling. Tiger Tiger got it onto the green. It was third shot on a par 5. He got it onto the green, but then it wouldn't stop rolling. And it's going to be a really tough putt for birdie. And even the look on Tiger's face is like, I don't know. I don't think Tiger feels great about it. Let's see Tiger's reaction. Oh, you could tell Tiger was trying to tell that ball to slow down, and it didn't. And he looked down in disbelief. Tough shot for Tiger.
Tough scene.
+1 right now in the middle of 15. We're live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, joins us, presented by Apple Collision Centers, online at applecollisioncenters.com. Chad, I want your thoughts. The Titans find themselves in the Brian Flores lawsuit, yet I have a hard time putting all the pieces together. While I think they did conduct sham interviews, I think that's, not to use a golf pun, but par for the course. And on top of it, we got Ray Horton trying to sue the Titans. They had already met the Rooney Rule. He, on your show, Paul Kaharski said, Ray Horton called him, said it was a good interview. And yet, Joe Rexroth, Gentry Estes, people are trying to throw the Titans under the bus. How do you feel about this situation?
Yeah, it's BS. I mean, come on. Ray Horton knew Mike Mularkey was getting that job. Everyone in town knew Mike Mularkey was getting that job. At the time, I was very critical of the hire of Mike Mularkey. I wanted them to interview more people. Now, if you want to blame the Titans for anything, blame the Titans for being cowards and just on top of them, because they were doing that for optics. They knew it was going to be an unpopular decision with their fan base. The fan base wanted more. They wanted better than Mike Mularkey at the time, so they conducted sham interviews to show, oh, hey, look, we talked to all these people, and we just kept coming back to Mike Mularkey and how great he was. But Mike Mularkey was getting that job. Ray Horton knew it. Ray Horton was fine with it. Like you mentioned, Jared, he called Paul Kaharski and said, they were totally professional. I'm working out a contract extension. There's no problem here. There is not one sign of racism in this whole story. I'd love for Joe Rexroth, for Gentry Estes, for any of the local media, yes, I said local media that you're talking about here, I'd love for them to point to one instance of racism in any of this. I think Ray Horton has pointed to one instance of racism in this. Was it racist with Doug Marrone, who was also a part of this sham interview process? It's ridiculous. The Titans have nothing to be ashamed of other than the fact that I think that they interviewed some people only to save face locally because they knew they were hiring Mike Mularkey and they knew it was going to be an unpopular decision.
If you're watching the stream, by the way, I just threw my hands up, Chad. I'm sorry. I did because Tiger missed a birdie putt by about like an inch. And so
oh, no. So
I just threw it up.
+1?
He's still +1. I mean, my heart is breaking for Tiger. I'm with your point about the racism thing. I don't think the Titans are a racist organization. Here's my problem with the Rooney Rule. It isn't very practical. Like, in theory, it makes sense. But with every big business, I believe that when people, and I'll use you as an example, right? Like, when you guys left 1045, you did it because you were going to outkick. You knew what you were going to do. And when an NFL team usually fires their head coach, it's because they know who they want to hire to replace that head coach. That's what happened to Mularkey when they fired him and hired Mike Vrabel. They did it because they knew they wanted to get Vrabel. In this case, they knew they wanted to hire Mularkey. They couldn't just announce it in the middle of that season because, A, it would have been unpopular, but B, it would have been against the NFL rules. I mean, the Buccaneers knew who they were going to hire when they just hired Todd Bowles. And I have not heard one person, no matter how loud people get one way or another about this, that have come up for a more practical way to get more diverse hires in the NFL. And that bothers me because it's like everybody wants to wag their finger, but they don't have the solution.
Well, I think those are all good points. I also think that one way to ensure that you're not going to get a billionaire, powerful NFL owner to do something is to tell them to do it and to try to dictate terms to them. So I think the Rooney Rule backfires a bit because it's forced on them, and they feel like it's forced on them to interview minority candidates. Now, guys, I'd love to live in a world where just naturally more NFL owners, that we would have a little bit more diversity with head coaches and GMs. But that's just not the world we live in the NFL. And, yes, of course, people hire other people that they know, they have relationships with, relationships matter, that maybe that's in their circle, that's in the circle of people they know. And at times that leads to a less diverse array of coaches and GMs across the league. But I also don't think the answer, and I'm not sure in reading Joe's column, you guys would have to ask him this in your next Jared versus Joe, but is the answer then just you got to hire a black coach or GM next time or hire a minority? Because that's racist. If you went into any process and said, hey, you got to hire a white guy, or you got to hire an Indian guy, or you got to hire a black guy or a black woman here for this job, that's also a racist stance to go into it that way. Hire the best possible candidate. I want more NFL owners to believe that minorities are the best possible candidate more often, but you also can't force the hand of a private business to hire someone or interview someone that they really don't want to interview. So I agree the Rooney Rule hasn't worked. Brian Flores and his legal team are arguing that the Rooney Rule hasn't worked. I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's certainly not just telling these billionaire powerful owners exactly what they need to do.
The other thing I have Chad Withrows with us, Outkick 360. I don't know what the Brian Flores lawsuit is actually challenging. So I will give the Brian Flores lawsuit credit because teams have made, I think it's pretty obvious, that teams have made, more conscious efforts of hiring minorities since the lawsuit because Mike McDaniel got hired by the Dolphins and Lovie Smith got hired by the Texans and Todd Bowles got hired by the Buccaneers. But I don't know, what they're alleging that the owners did that is so wrong. There's a lot of, juicy stories like how Belichick texted the wrong Brian, but I'm not sure how that's, against the law. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you'd have to have, racism exists, right, in the world, in the country. Well, you'd be naive to say that it doesn't. I'm not someone sitting here saying it doesn't exist, but you'd have to have some pretty egregious email, text messages, recordings. We're talking about some Donald Sterling type level stuff here that you would need to have from some owners to really prove that there were racist intentions with their hiring practices, or, in Steve Wilkes' case, that now that he's and how they get rid of people in certain jobs. So, yeah, I think it's very difficult to prove. I don't see any blatant evidence of racism in any of this. And I think that the Brian Flores camp, they really shoot themselves in the foot with their argument when Lovie Smith, for instance, gets hired in Houston. Remember the statement that came out where they said, well, we're really happy that a minority candidate got hired and we're happy for Lovie Smith, but it's still racist because we're more qualified, Brian Flores being more qualified, and we only weren't considered because we shone a light on the racism across the league. Well, you're kind of defeating your own purpose when you make those arguments, and it really does make it about maybe the individual's inability now to get a job. I think certainly with Ray Horton, how he's changed his tune since he interviewed with the Titans, and now he's had one job since then with Cleveland, and he's been out of the league for, 3-4 years now. I think that has something to do with him joining this lawsuit also. I think that's some of the problems you have with this lawsuit and the merit or lack thereof behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I kept hammering on yesterday, which nobody seems to care about, Ray Horton was horrible as the Titans defensive coordinator. I mean, he was horrible. And the only reason he got a job interview, it wasn't for the Rooney Rule because they had interviewed Terrell Austin, was because he openly complained that he thought he should be considered for head coach, and everybody in town was like, dude, you suck. And I think that bothers me a little bit when everybody talks about all these qualified candidates that aren't getting opportunities, and Ray Horton, who was not qualified to be a head coach and his defenses were terrible and he was a horrible coordinator of the Titans, is sitting here and arguing that he should be considered too.
Yeah, again, it comes down to kind of the message and the messenger, right? Like there are, I'm sure, other examples that we can go throughout the history of the league to point to better messengers for this message of diversity and message of, specifically black coaches we're talking about now not getting a fair shake across the league or not enough minority GMs across the league. I just look at Brian Flores, who started this, and now Ray Horton. You bring up a good point about the fact that he wasn't a great coordinator with the Titans at the time. Brian Flores did some nice things with the Dolphins, but every report out of Miami is that Brian Flores didn't get along with ownership, didn't get along with a lot of his coaches. It kind of shows that with the amount of hires he had to make over the course of his short time there with his assistants. So there were some other things going on in terms of how you get along with people that maybe was a problem with Brian Flores. So I think we're looking at two instances here where it's not the best messenger with this message. The Steve Wilkes thing, it's a little bit more valid, but you're also kind of arguing, well, I sucked less than some of these other guys. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough spot to argue from, right? Like if you're 14-2 and get fired, and then a GM who's out there, getting DUIs and making bad draft picks and losing over and over continues to keep his job, then, yeah, you got something. But when the argument sort of comes down to, well, I didn't get a fair shake because I sucked less than these other guys, it's difficult to make your point, and it's certainly difficult to prove racism when that's the case.
Yeah, Chad Withrow's with us, Outkick 360. Coming up next, Tiger will be playing, it looks like, and he's about to, I think it's like a 9-foot putt basically on 15. But I do feel like Tiger may be trying to save golf this weekend. We'll get Chad's thoughts on it. That's next. Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Every Friday at 8:30 on Robbie and Rex Show, we talk with the legend, Terry Chris, about all things Nashville Predators, presented by Copper Branch on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The 2022 Major League Soccer season is officially here, and Nashville SC's new home, Geodis Park, is nearly complete. Don't miss Nashville SC's home opener May 1st. Secure your season tickets now. Come on and grab a seat at NashvilleSC.com/22ticks.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
For years, you've known Genesis as the premier jeweler here, where you can always find the most sought-after brands in fashion and bridal jewelry. Genesis carries the best of the best, brands that others aren't even allowed to carry. But now, Genesis takes it to a whole new level with a spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes. If you've ever dreamed of owning the world's most revered brand, you owe it to yourself to get to Genesis now and see watches people wait years to get. Luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariners, Hulks, Daytonas, Batmans, and so many others. We've scoured the country hand-selecting only the best for our showcases. The most popular models, the most well-cared for, the ones most in demand. So don't wait any longer. Reward yourself or someone you love today with a luxury pre-owned Rolex from Genesis. It's just another way Genesis Diamonds does whatever it takes to bring you only the world's best. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
Attention veterans of Middle Tennessee. Little Guys Movers wants to put your hard-earned skills and leadership talent to work with your very own Little Guys Movers franchise. Be your own boss and build a team with standards as high as your own, and all while serving your community with the same hustle that you served your country. Use your existing 401k to invest in yourself. Financing options are available. Start a fulfilling, profitable new chapter of your life as a member of a team with 30-plus years of growth and good times at littleguysfranchise.com. That's littleguysfranchise.com.
And now a message from Puffs Tissues. It's that time of year when spring's in full swing and explosions of life make allergies really zing. Each sniffle and swipe can be a moment of dread as ordinary tissues make noses angry and red. So keep Puffs by your side to soften all your blows. With Air Puffed Magic, they'll cushion your nose. Especially during allergy season, a nose in need deserves Puffs. Indeed.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to be done with the show for the day after Tiger Woods on 15. I think he's on 16 now. Tiger Woods, it was a par 3. Tee shot, puts it about 8 feet away from the cup. and then by like an eighth of an inch off to the right of the cup. And then even you could see it all over his face. Tiger was so just so depressed just when he just kind of used his putter to shovel it in for par. He's +1 on the day. Looks like he's going to make the cut, which is great. But those are 2 putts that Tiger has come within an inch of sinking for birdie. He could be, -1 right now with those 2 putts. Instead, he's +1. Chad Withrow's with us. Outkick 360, presented by Apple Collision Centers, online at applecollisioncenters.com. So, Chad, I look at the viewership for golf. And before you look at the numbers and think about, what it's like if Tiger's in there, I have no interest in this tournament if Tiger Woods is not playing. Zero. I have zero interest in almost every other golf tournament, too. And yet, if he's playing, I cannot even concentrate on hosting the radio show when Tiger is taking a shot. And I feel like a lot of America that are sports fans feel that way. And I'm trying to think, what is it about Tiger that is just so special that I have to watch that I couldn't care about anybody else in the field no matter what?
I mean, he's Tiger. That's the simple answer. It's the same way when I was thinking today about, when Tiger wasn't wearing Nikes earlier this week because he couldn't find the right orthopedic shoe or whatever with Nike they hadn't designed yet. And I'm thinking, Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan are Nike. A lot about both of them. And you're not unlike a lot of people, Jared, that they'll watch when Tiger Woods around, but not any other time. I'll watch the Masters no matter what. I'll watch majors no matter what and enjoy them. But Tiger adds a ton to it. And I'm actually encouraged by it today because I thought he was going to completely fall apart and miss the cut early on in this round when he was, 3 over par through 4 holes or whatever it was on the day. And I think he's balanced himself well and has battled well today. So I think that's encouraging for the rest of the weekend if he can close out strong. But, yeah, this tournament and any tournament where Tiger Woods is relevant in that tournament is going to make it that much better.
I mean, it's wild to think about this, that, Michael Jordan, and I think we can say they're on the same level, Tiger and Michael, and, when Michael Jordan left the NBA, the ratings have gone down. But, they still had Kobe Bryant, and people still watched. And then they had LeBron James, and people still watched. With golf, people do watch, but the Masters last year without Tiger on Sunday averaged 9.45 million viewers. That's less than the World Series averaged last year. That is astounding to me to think that, so many people turn off the TV if Tiger's not in there and are not at all interested in the sport whatsoever.
Yeah, it's crazy. Last year was the November, or was that the year before?
That was the year before.
My COVID years mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, no, that is a crazy stat. Here's what golf needs more than anything else. We thought we had it with Jordan Spieth in that stretch in 2014, 2015, right around there, but he's fallen off the map. There's never going to be another Tiger, just like, quite frankly, I don't think there was ever going to be another Michael Jordan, and I don't think LeBron James is that, and I don't think anyone's been able to replicate Michael Jordan from a box office draw standpoint, right? I don't know that we're going to have that Tiger Woods effect because it was such a sudden storm with him, and the way he brought casual sports fans to the game of golf and continues to do so, you can't really replicate. But there needs to be a clear-cut number one, right? It's not going to be Tiger, but there's got to be someone that every tournament you go into saying, okay, this person is compelling. I think it's got to be an American for American audiences. I think that's important. But it's got to be someone that you say, all right, I'm watching for this guy. It's not Dustin Johnson. It's not Jordan Spieth. Who is that guy going to be? I don't think it's Scotty Scheffler, even though he's number one in the world right now. Again, not to Tiger's level, but someone who's clear-cut number one ahead of rest of the field. I think that's important for golf from a rating standpoint moving forward.
What makes Tiger Woods so likable, Chad? Because, Tiger's career, he's had some moments now. And obviously we know about the biggest one in 2009, but Tiger's had moments all throughout his career, whether he's, goes off on somebody in the gallery or whatever over the course of his career. And yet everybody loves him. Michael had a great image that was crafted and thanks to, his corporate sponsors and the league and everything else. But Michael had his issues. Tom Brady's had his issues, but there's something about Tiger that I find so likable, and I can't even put my finger on it.
Well, it's a mixture of a few things. One is greatness. We're drawn to greatness in America, and he's truly great at his sport. I think it's the difference with Tiger. You know, my 77-year-old dad really started watching golf more when Tiger Woods was around because it was so different, and the interest level he brought was so different. And he's still a big Tiger fan today, just like I am. Well, you know, all the personal stuff, I think we forgive that quickly in this country, and especially when someone can be great. You know, I was there in 2019 at the Masters for Saturday and Sunday when Tiger won, and that was remarkable, just such a feel-good story with everything that had happened. But, you know, Tiger Woods' entire life certainly isn't feel-good. So, and I think the other factor is what you said about Michael Jordan. It's a carefully crafted image by Nike and others that sold us. I mean, you know, Madison Avenue and account reps out there, they're really good, these ad agencies, on selling us on something, selling us on dreams, selling us on an image, selling us on a product. And Tiger Woods is all three of those things. And they did a hell of a job selling us on Tiger Woods, starting at an early age, and it sticks. And I think that's a big part of why we root for Tiger Woods and why we like him so much.
Chad Withrow's with us, Outkick 360. It looks like he's going to make the cut. He's on his second shot on 17, +1. The expected cut is going to be +6, so it looks like he's going to make it. Does Tiger have anything to lose at this point? I mean, I felt like I just wanted to see him make the cut. I would love for Tiger to find a way into contention tomorrow. I don't think it's probably going to happen. What are your expectations for Tiger?
Well, my expectations were to feel like it was great, was just to make the cut. I thought if he could go off on Thursday and play and start this tournament, okay, that's good. If he can make the cut and get to the weekend, that's great. If he's in contention on Sunday, and I'm not talking about winning the whole thing, but in the discussion on Sunday, I think that's just super great, remarkable, stupendous, whatever adjective you want to put on it, it takes it to the next level. So he's put himself in position now. I don't know where Scotty Scheffler is at this point, but no one's really running away with this. He's going to be around. If he can have a good round tomorrow, he's going to put himself in contention on Sunday, which I think is remarkable, as I said before. So, no, he's already won just by making the cut. Now he's got a chance to do something really special over the weekend.
So I think Scheffler right now is -6 in the lead, and I think Hideki Matsuyama is 3 under. And so, I mean, you'd need like a pretty special performance from Tiger tomorrow. But he did it 2 years ago. And I do think Tiger looks more comfortable today on the leg than he did yesterday. I thought Tiger did not look totally comfortable yesterday on that leg.
You know, he is just the ultimate gamer. I don't know if you saw him in the practice round earlier in the week, but the way he was limping around that course in the practice round, like, man, this guy's got a noticeable limp. You can see it. And then he gets out there on Thursday when the spotlight's on, when the gallery's the biggest, when it's go time, when it's actual Masters time, and he looked fine. I mean, there's a slight limp when he's going uphill at times, but it was crazy for me to see how that switch flipped. It just flipped with Tiger. He got out there and suddenly the limp went away and he looked different. It was crazy for me to watch. But yeah, I mean, can that continue over the weekend now is the question.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360 is our guest. If Tiger plays, so last year, the Sunday at the Masters, no Tiger, averaged 9.45 million viewers on CBS. If Tiger is in contention on Sunday, even if it's not tight contention, if he's in contention on Sunday, what will the viewership be?
Oh, gosh, I'd have to go back to 2019 to see. I mean,
so 2019, if you'll remember, was kind of screwed up because the rain came, and so they had to move it to the morning.
Yeah, it was earlier in the day. But, I mean, the number's going to be bigger than that because it's not prime time. You know, I know, for instance, it was, 18.1 million watched the national championship game between Kansas and North Carolina the other night.
On cable.
That number hasn't gone over 20 million since 2017. It was at 30 million in 1994 when Duke played Arkansas that year. That was the last time it was there. So on a Sunday afternoon, you know, going into 60 Minutes on CBS at around 5:30, I mean, that number could get to 18 million. I mean, could it be similar to a national championship game? I mean, I don't know. Again, I'd have to look at the best of Tiger's years in the ratings. But, I mean, I think it'll be right there with those best years of Tiger at the Masters when it's a normal time period, and you'll see some of the same numbers.
Were those numbers, by the way, for the NCAA tournament, were those not insane for games on cable? 16.3 million viewers on Saturday night for Duke, North Carolina on cable. That would have been 20 million, 25 million on CBS.
Yeah, that was the best ever, for a game on TBS and on cable, I know, for college basketball. But, yeah, no, those were great numbers. It's crazy to me that a national championship can be played and not on a network. And I understand that Turner had to come to the table and sweeten the pot for the TV contract to make sure that they kept the tournament and the championship game. And as part of that, they were going to get a rotation of exclusive national championship games. But it's still just nuts to me that the NCAA doesn't guarantee or make sure that their staple national championship games are at least available by simulcast on a network. That's crazy to me.
I mean, think about, too, same with their football championships. I mean, that's absolutely astounding. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, presented by Apple Collision Centers. Chad, appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
All right, have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks.
Yep, Chad Withrow joining us on the program. I took the bait. I am not even ashamed that I took the bait. I want to get to this next because I am all in on Tiger, but I'll explain the bait that I took, and I think you all will enjoy it, and we'll do that next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Boy, I love Hiller. They're giving away free vacations for you and your family this month with every purchase of a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems. Hiller is giving you a free week-long vacation. And with every purchase of a new tankless water heater, they're giving you a free weekend vacation. And they're giving you a Visa Rewards card to help pay for your gas to get you there. Choose from over 400 Marriott, Wyndham, Hilton, or Hyatt hotel properties and take advantage of this unbelievable deal while you can, because these deals are only available for a limited time. So make sure you schedule today. Visit happyhiller.com for all of the details. As always, happy you'll be here. The service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They take great care of my home. They can do the same for you. Proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Gary Ashton here. Most people in Nashville know me as the don't sell without the intel and the guaranteed offer guy. But despite my accent, I'm also 100% guaranteed Nashville. I'm a guaranteed musician, a guaranteed dog lover, and you're also guaranteed to see me at every Titans and Preds game. Guaranteed offer means the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage will sell your house for top dollar with no cleaning, staging, showings, or open houses, and give you up to 90 days to close. So there's plenty of time to find your next home. Guaranteed Nashville means my team lives here and loves it here. We've served Nashville for over 20 years, and we're passionate about helping the people we call neighbors and friends, which is why we've had a long-standing tradition of donating to the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. If you're thinking about a guaranteed offer, get the only one that's guaranteed Nashville. Request a no-obligation offer by calling 615-301-1650 or go to GaryAshton.com today. Remember, Gary Ashton, guaranteed Nashville.
Pro Golf is back in Middle Tennessee. Mark your calendars for the Simmons Bank Open, May 5th through 8th. You can see the next wave of PGA Tour stars. Be sure to visit the Sand Trap at the 14th hole and check out great local food trucks, including Hattie B's, Hogwood Barbecue, Dream Burger, Padrino Pops, cocktails from Jack Daniels, and try the Sand Trap Cream Ale from New Heights Brewing Company. Purchase your tickets now at SimmonsBankOpen.com.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny.
Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
Saturday.
One's gone! Classic Yankee Stadium homer. It's gone! Home run! There's Finnegan's Rainbow right there.
It's one of baseball's oldest rivalries as the Yankees take on the Red Sox. Coverage begins at 2:30
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Tiger Woods is approaching the tee at 17. He is one over par. Excuse me, the tee at 18. It's a par 4. He is approaching the tee. He is +1 on the day. It'd be so nice for Tiger to end with a birdie, be even going into tomorrow. But Tiger will live to see another day at Augusta National as he is teeing off here on 18. And it looks good. Let's see. Where's it going? No, maybe this looks bad. Where's this going? Oh, fairway. Right on the fairway for Tiger. Good for him. And I will say this. I could not give two poops about anybody else that is golfing in this tournament. Not one poop. Not even two, not one. Could not care less. Matsuyama's up there, knock yourself out. What gets me is how I think a lot of people feel this way similarly to me about Tiger Woods, and that if Tiger's in it, they're going to be all in on Tiger. And ESPN just put out that they've got the Thursday and Friday at the Masters. The ESPN, the Masters first-round audience averaged 2.8 million viewers, the largest since 2018. ESPN Plus, where you could watch just Tiger. ESPN Plus had its most viewed day of golf ever. No duh. And SportsCenter at the Masters averaged 800,000 viewers. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what the average for SportsCenter is. I'm going to guess it's not 800,000 viewers. So
I don't know.
I think that's pretty good, like as far as it's concerned, because Tiger moves the needle. So I went down the rabbit hole today. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Skip Bayless tweeted out, and yes, I follow Skip Bayless on Twitter, and I got to be honest with you, I kind of like Skip Bayless's show. I don't necessarily go to it, but if there's nothing else on, I kind of like it. Because I think it leaves out, like as much as people don't like Skip Bayless, I think for the most part, that show leaves out a lot of the extra...
The floof.
Yeah, the extra bull crap around it.
The fat around the meat.
They're not going to bring on these people I do not want to hear from. Like, First Take is like bringing on all these people who I seriously don't want to hear
They
from.
had some WWE person on, and I know that there is a market for that, but keep it moving.
Like, I don't need to hear Kimberly Martin talk about the NFL on First Take. Like, she's not interesting.
I do not like her, and I don't know what it is.
She's not interesting.
Every time she says something, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
And ESPN throws those people on there. Like, I want more Jeff Saturday. Like, give me,
I like Jeff Saturday.
Jeff Saturday, Lewis Riddick, Tim Legler for basketball.
Give me RC.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But Skip and Shannon, that's fine. Skip Bayless tweets out that in honor of Tiger, he and Shannon were going to do their Mount Rushmores of sports.
Is it Mount Rushmore season already?
It is not Mount Rushmore season, and it will never be. And as long as I'm on the radio, it will never be Mount Rushmore season for me.
Okay, Mike Vrabel.
It is just the worst. Like, your Mount Rushmore of Titan quarterbacks. It's so awful. But so, anywho, they decided to do their Mount Rushmore of sports. And I took the bait. So I took the bait on Skip and Shannon this morning. I turned on the TV. Skip Bayless's picks. This is what's wild. Now, I do believe that there is some shtick to that. I get very offended when people think that my opinions are manufactured for shock value. And there's a lot of people that think that. And I know there's a lot of people in their cars right now that are hearing me say this that are like, okay, Jared, I know you say but I think you two know me well enough. Like, there is not a shock value that comes with the opinions that I have of these teams.
No, you genuinely believe those.
Thank you. And Skip Bayless claims that he feels the same way there, and I can't blame him if it's true. But sometimes I think, especially his relationship with Shannon Sharp when it comes to LeBron, I think that's kind of manufactured. Like, I think Shannon knows he's got to be pro LeBron on everything and Skip's anti-LeBron, so that's what they do. So they had their Mount Rushmores of sports. Boy, did I take the bait. Skip Bayless's Mount Rushmore: Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali.
I think that's pretty straightforward.
I have no problem with any of that.
I have a problem with
Shannon's. Michael Phelps.
Okay.
Serena Williams.
Cool.
Tiger.
Cool.
LeBron James.
And that's what I texted you because I took the bait too. I said, LeBron?
All caps. All caps on LeBron. And your disgust of that. Here's what going to this. I think Tiger, yes. I mean, Tiger has an effect. Now, look, you're going to have some old peepop that calls in that tells you about Jack, or that tells you, that Sam Snead, something like that.
Uh-huh.
But, like, in my lifetime, I'm 32 years old. In my lifetime, Tiger Woods has dominated golf at a level unlike anybody else. The thing about the greatest players of my lifetime is that they didn't have, like, one true rival. Like, I know that Magic had Bird, and those were, like, one true rival. But the reality is Magic and Bird are all-time greats, but they're not at the level of Michael, and they're not at the level of Brady, and they're not at the level – like, Brady had Manning as his one true rival, but that was two teams. And Manning's been gone for 6 years. And, like, Brady just keeps on trucking. Michael had the bad boy Pistons. But then after that, it was like, there was Clyde Drexler, and then there was the Knicks, and then there was the Jazz and Indiana. And at that point, it was Michael by himself, and whoever was the second best at the time was Michael's biggest villain. Same kind of with Brady, where Brady had the New York Giants and the Mannings for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then it was like, Nick Foles in Philadelphia and, everything else. And so I felt like, as far as the Mount Rushmores are concerned, how can you not have Michael Jordan on your Mount Rushmore? And how can you not have Tom Brady? Even if you don't like Tom Brady, how can you not have Tom Brady on your Mount Rushmore? Like, and I know that, these shows, nobody wants...
They do it so we will have this exact conversation.
Floyd said that when he worked at ESPN and they would do NFL Live, that it would be like, okay, who are we picking in the NFC East, right? Uh-huh. And it's like, so if we're sitting around and it's him and Mark Schlereth and Trey Wingo, and it's like, okay, who do you have? And let's say Ian says that he's got the Cowboys, and you say you've got the Cowboys, that somebody in the group would have to not say Cowboys. Like, there'd have to be somebody that's like, okay, I'll talk about Jalen Hurts' development and the chances that Philadelphia can win that division. So
you may not believe it, but it's a point that can be made.
Sure. Michael Phelps, I get, Michael Phelps, a bad boy, no doubt about it. All-time greatest swimmer of my lifetime for sure. Serena, I guess, like, Serena hasn't had, like, one true rival. When she first got started, it was Venus, obviously. But, Serena's, like, pretty dominant. But has she been as dominant on the back end as, like, Brady and Jordan and Tiger? Even Tiger won the Masters.
But then you can make that same argument of, while Brady is the greatest to ever do it in the NFL, that's a team sport. And for Serena to have dominated so much in tennis by herself.
You cannot put LeBron James on a Mount Rushmore.
Okay, but like basketball is so much less of a team sport than football is.
I know, but like Tom Brady left his team, went to another crap team.
You do not have to make that argument
and won the Super Bowl.
I'm fully aware.
Like the article that Dan Shaughnessy wrote, the column in the Boston Globe that came after the Buccaneers beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And this is why I love Boston. Like, we don't do this enough here in Nashville. The headline was, final score, Tom Brady won, Patriots 0.
It's so petty, but it's so true.
I loved it.
It is so true.
It just cuts right at the truth of it, like right at the bone. It's just like, here you go. I cannot believe, and I know that Shannon's a LeBron guy, but I kind of felt when Malcolm Butler intercepted Russell Wilson at the goal line. I remember doing radio in Louisville, and I remember the next day we were talking about the Super Bowl, and I said, this ends the Brady Manning thing, right? Like, this is over. Mm-hmm. Like, Brady has 4. Manning at the time had 1. And, like, Manning, it looked like, was kind of done. And you're like, it's over. Like, Brady is There's no longer an argument about Brady Manning.
Right.
When I look at the Pro Football Reference, like Hall of Fame monitor, and I see how close Brady is to Manning, like Brady is 259 something, Manning is 257 something, I'm like, that's just wrong. Because even though it wouldn't surprise me if those are the two greatest quarterbacks of all time, I think there's a much larger gap between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. And like that's done. The LeBron thing's done now, right? Like, that's over.
I don't think it will be done until LeBron is done.
But he's not winning another championship.
I mean, I don't know that.
His team freaking sucks.
I mean, he's a crybaby
Michael
who walked off the court the other night whenever his team was bounced out of playoff contention.
I get that, like, Michael went to the Wizards and he didn't, like, win much with the Wizards, and he was 40 years old when he did it or
and
whatever.
like that's also the defense for LeBron is he's been able to do it with multiple teams. 3 teams now.
Oh, my God. Cry me a river. Let's put Michael on the Knicks in the 90s and see what happens.
But we don't know
Michael would have won 10 titles.
But that's the defense, is LeBron's done it with 3
I
different
don't
teams
give Kevin
now.
Durant any credit for winning that championship with Golden State.
Because it wasn't just Kevin Durant.
And I don't care either. Like,
on those Cavs teams, it was just LeBron.
I completely dismissed LeBron's bubble championship.
Why? I think that's just your beef with the bubble.
Because if a tree falls in a forest and nobody hears it, does it really make a sound? And nobody paid attention to that bubble. Nobody.
Well, I had to.
Were you there?
No.
You didn't get the clearance?
No, very few people got clearance. I think like Malika Andrews and Cassidy Hubbard, who were like, ESPN's go-to girls, were the only ones who got clearance.
Rachel Nichols got clearance, and then she left her computer
we saw how that
on,
turned
and
out.
but
I mean, it's still a championship. I mean, they can't control the fact that there's a pandemic.
I don't count it.
I think that you just don't like LeBron.
Well, but that's not like, if I felt like it was fair, then I would say that.
What's not fair about
I'll
it?
give him half a championship for that.
That doesn't work that way.
I give him half a championship. Ian,
It is a championship.
Do you count LeBron's bubble championship?
Why not?
Because no one watched it. Nobody cared. They had
That's not
months
true.
off to prepare for it.
People
Nobody
watched
watched that thing. Nobody watched it.
Nobody?
It was during football season. Nobody watched.
I watched it.
I would be
I think it
stunned.
counts.
It
Just
does
like the
not
Tampa
count.
Bay Lightning one counts.
It is a championship.
It does
It
not
counts. This is not some sort of Houston Astros in 2017 World Series. It
Wasn't
counts.
a cheater situation. That's true.
It does not count. But anywho, my whole point is, like, I think it's over. Like, I think LeBron pulled as close to Jordan as possible when he blocked the shot and they came back from down 3-1 in 2016 to Golden State.
Yep.
But LeBron was going to have to, like, win a couple more in Cleveland. Like, he was going to have to ride that wave. But I think that's as close as he got to Jordan. And Jordan, that's when Jordan greenlit the Last Dance project. Was after that had happened, I think, because Jordan wanted to put out something that kind of reminded the people that said, hey, don't be calling him the king. He ain't the king. I'm the king. That kind of thing. I mean, how can you have like a modern American sports Mount Rushmore? Again, I took debate on this. This is so stupid.
The fact that we're even talking about this right now is astonishing.
So stupid that I so took debate on this. How can you have Michael Jordan not on your Mount Rushmore? How do you have
LeBron
Tom
James?
Brady?
I mean, Skip's Mount Rushmore, I feel like would be
fairly accurate,
like pretty unanimous.
I'm not old enough to know, like, some of the, other people. Like, how can I compare?
In more recent
to
history,
freaking Billie Jean King or whatever.
Are you gonna put Babe Ruth in there?
Yeah, right. Well, see, Babe Ruth, and I was talking about this with somebody else. You know exactly where I'm gonna go with this.
I do. Yes. About Babe Ruth?
Yeah, like why I can't put Babe Ruth on the Mount Rushmore.
Why?
Because he was fat.
I knew you were going to go there. We have done way too much fat shaming against baseball players today. I don't understand why you are so mad about Babe Ruth being fat.
You cannot be. Like,
I think it makes it cooler.
The greatest athlete of all time. Like, you can't be in that discussion if you're that overweight.
I think it makes it so much cooler that, like, in between innings, Babe Ruth would, like, go smoke a cigar, or before games, he'd, like, eat a big old steak and drink a beer.
No, he wouldn't eat steak.
What would he eat? Hot dogs?
Hot dogs.
That is gross.
It was all hot dogs. So when he got, like, sick, they, like, told him, like, no more beer, no more hot dogs. When he was on the Red Sox as a pitcher.
Over my dead body will I stop eating hot dogs
on
and
a
drinking
road
beer.
trip. I think on a road trip, Babe Ruth ate, like, 8 hot dogs in one sitting or something. Like, that was, like, or, like, 18 hot dogs or
But
something
that makes it cooler that he was that good and that dominant and just ate like a 8-year-old.
Unbelievable. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. Baseball season is here, and this baseball season, turn Ks into cash and big hits into big wins on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Just sign up and place your first bet, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you do not win. Great promotions every day. So every day you want to, say you're bored, sitting there on the couch, you pull up baseball, bang, go ahead and bet it. It's a safe and secure app. You get paid fast, and there's so many bets you can make risk-free with that first bet up to $1,000. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook app. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get started with your risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code JGM. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobis. Showers ending going into tonight. Cooling down significantly, middle 30s for low temperatures. The chance for some patchy frost as you wake up on your Saturday. Mostly sunny for the rest of the day, and high temperatures will be in the middle 50s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Spring has sprung, which means it's time to renew your home with Social Furniture. It's their Spring Fling sale, where all furniture is up to 50% off. That's right, up to 50% off on top name brands such as Serta, Sealy, Simmons, Caracol, Bernhardt, and Woodhouse. At Social Furniture, you'll find new bedroom furniture, mattresses, and sofas, all up to 50% off. Spring into Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local, shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
As a mom, you have to plan for everything. But I never planned on my health plan at work costing so much to cover my family. Fortunately, with more than 70 years of experience helping Tennesseans, Farm Bureau health plans help me get family-friendly coverage for a lot less. So I can focus on raising my kids, not my premiums.
Ouch, Mom!
Find out more at fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Meshing journalism.
They are 2 scores behind you. The math says that increases your chances of winning.
With sports fandom.
I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning, just emotionally numb from Titans and Packers.
And sarcasm.
You guys are the worst.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. No duh. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
So the face-off to the left side of Anton Forsberg. Philip Forsberg at the left side as the pass is tipped in front, and the shot in the goal! Right in front, jabbing that puck home. Brian Johansson and the Predators take a 3-2 lead very quickly on the power play.
Shot was blocked, and it just kind of skied up in the air. Gronlund takes a swipe at it. He didn't get a piece of it, but Ryan Johansson swiped it with the backhand, is able to slam it in the 5-hole.
I really liked their team tonight. I thought we came in with the right mindset, and we had some emotion into the game. I thought we were physically engaged in the game, and Ottawa's a tough team to play against. They have a lot of speed. They play a stretch game. They can find ways to try to get guys in behind you. But I thought, from a mindset wise, I really liked, back-to-back games here coming in and getting to an identity that gives us the best chance to win. And obviously the power play goal was huge there late.
There you go. John Hines did not mention identity in that clip, which I'm a little surprised
He did
by.
at the end.
Did he?
I think so.
I'm just going to go with probably he did, yeah. I don't think I've ever heard a John Hines clip where identity wasn't a word used.
Well, this week I've been practicing my John Hines.
You've been pretty good at it.
Well, here's why. I have been so consistent saying the same thing the entire week. On Sunday of this week, had the Dallas Stars beaten the terrible Seattle Kraken, then the Dallas Stars would have jumped the Predators, and the Predators would have technically been out of a playoff spot. And people were worried before that game that Dallas was going to beat Seattle, which they obviously did not. And people started crying to me on Twitter and everything else saying, oh, Jared, they're not going to make the playoffs. And what have I said the whole week? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday.
They're going to the playoffs.
They're going to make the playoffs. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to make the playoffs. Now, they were like at the 85% portion earlier in the week. Then they got to 93. Now they're 97.3. And they have a back-to-back. Now, this is kind of one of the talking points of the boo-hoo, what's going to happen to the Preds crew, which is they play good teams now. Florida tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena, very good team. Maybe the best team in the league. Then they go, and then they got a back-to-back. They go on the road, TNT on Sunday. They play the Penguins. Good team. If the Predators win tomorrow, and I told you, they're going to beat good teams. Like, for everybody, it's like, oh, Jared, they got so many good teams. They are 4 points clear of a playoff spot with 2 games in hand on Vegas. I'll put it to you like this. With 12 games to go, if they win these 2, which would then take it to 10 games, with 10 games to go, let's say that cancels out the 2 games in hand, then the Predators would have an 8-point lead on Vegas with 10 games to go. Mm-hmm. You got to feel good about their chances of making the playoffs. If they win in regulation tomorrow, the odds of them making the playoffs, according to MoneyPuck.com, are 98.8. Like, that is the percentage of survival for me to tomorrow.
That's
like
a little morbid.
Yeah, I mean, knock on
guaranteed.
wood. Knock on wood. Like, that's why you always have to be cognizant and worry. Live your last day.
Yes, yeah, I'm with you, but
now
a little scary.
If they lose to the Panthers in regulation, it goes to 95.3%. Guys, they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to win one of these back-to-back games. If they win both of these back-to-back games, then it's done. Like, if they win these 2 games, they are in the playoffs. I have not been worried about it. I was not worried about it when they went out there and they lost last Friday to Buffalo. I was not worried about it when they beat Minnesota before they played Minnesota. I was not worried about it yesterday, and I'm not worried about it today. Ian was a little worried at the beginning of the week.
A little bit.
Are you still worried?
Am I worried that they won't make the playoffs? Not necessarily worried, but am I for sure saying they're going to make it yet? I'm not there yet.
Are you for sure saying they'll make the playoffs?
Yeah. I feel confident saying
they're going to make the playoffs.
I feel confident.
And I will say this, with all the trash talking that I've done, these 2 games, the Minnesota and the Ottawa game, that really was probably a turning point here, which was if they had split, then it would have been kind of nip and tuck. Had they lost both, then it probably would have been oh my God, what are they going to do? Oh my God, here they come. But because they won both games, it's kind of okay, yeah. They got the course correction in place at the right time. I think the Predators are going to win one of these 2 games. I would not be surprised if they won both. And this is going to sound crazy. We always talk about making sure that you're playing the right hockey at the right time of year, at the right time, that you go into the playoffs in the right mindset and the right. This might be exactly perfect for them. Because all the other teams that they will perhaps see, like the Floridas of the world, Florida has known that they've been in the playoffs for the last 6 months. Yeah. So, sometimes those teams kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, and you're not, going 100%. It's why some teams get worried in the NFL about the bye week, because it's yes, I'd like the rest. Yes, I'd like the health. Yes, I'd like all of that. But there's an element that gets taken away from your team when you don't play for a week. The Titans have had to bye 4 times. They're 1-3. I believe that's correct, yes. 1-3. And so I think that this all may be the Stars aligning. If they can get that 4th place spot, go out to Calgary. I think they can beat Calgary. I think the Stars could align for the Predators, but I just want everybody out there to know. I told you all. Don't
it
worry
feels
about it.
pretty good that they're going to make the playoffs.
That's it for us. We're out of here on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. Max and Elijah Campbell next. It's the 6. Stillman and Company. We'll have full breakdowns Monday at 2.